What's up, everybody? Peace, 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 people. Now, I don't know how many people will actually see this stream because this particular channel has been kind of hidden. For those that are subscribers to my first channel, just know that right now I'm unable to access that particular video or channel because I lost my passcode. So for now, until I figure out the passcode, I will be on this channel. So if you guys wouldn't mind, please hitting the like button, please sharing and subscribe. What's up, Shaw, man? How are you? Thank you for coming over here. I really appreciate you. Please hit the like button. Today we're going to talk about what a lot of content creators are talking about. Trump came out the woodworks, which I wasn't really surprised, and let it be known that he was coming for the riffraff of the black community. He's coming for the young thugs. He's coming for the gangbangers. He's coming for the drug peddlers. He's coming for people that commit murder and other heinous crimes that our community, unfortunately, is not able to rid of the community itself. So I know that a lot of people have a lot of mixed feelings because of what Trump has done. He has done an awful lot when it comes to the immigration and getting rid of the illegals that have come into our country, which I have voted for him to do. And I also am in agreement with him, cleaning up the community, because it has been a long time coming that something happens to the people that have been allowed to run amok, who have created a whole lot of ignorance and bad behavior to the point where our community has been held hostage. And so in this live stream, I'm gonna showcase a lot of stuff, but first I want to showcase what Trump had to say before I get into the why I am in support of Trump. He has done an awful lot to help spark change, and I think that change sometimes can mean good, and I believe in this instance it does mean good. So without further ado, I would like to say first that this is going to be fair use of all videos that I show under the Copyright Act of 1976 for commentary, for research, for information, education, entertainment, all the above, not meaning to impose, but to inform and to let people see what I'm seeing in hopes that they would also agree or at least understand my stance. So yes, let's now get to the very hot video that Trump dropped maybe about 5-6 days ago. And he was talking about the crime in DC, and basically is saying that he is federalizing Washington DC. He's gonna target specific areas that have known issues. And I know a lot of people feel like he's coming in blindly without really a good cause to do so. But I think that there is several reasons why it needs to happen, because like I said, our community has been riddled with a lot of bad behavior. And if you do not have anything to worry about as far as how you lead your life, if you're not a criminal, if you are not wanted, then you shouldn't have to worry about being placed on a list and being sought after. But people that tend to make excuses for the black community and the bad behavior are the people that don't want to have accountability. And this is not what, hey, how you doing? Here you are. I'm going to make you a mod. Thank you for coming through. Y'all granddaddy nurse. I appreciate seeing you. I'm glad you're here. Was it easy to find this live stream, by the way? Was it easy to find? I don't know, because I've been having a hard time seeing the channel itself, so it's really a trip. But yeah, now I'm going with MSNBC. We're going to take a look at the live that he did where he discussed the DC takeover. You said, soon as I leave my son new dorm, I'm going to tune in. It's so good seeing you on again. I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate that. So what I'm going to do while you go, if you can listen while you're going or whatever you do, we're going to go first with what Trump talked about. And then I'm going to give my reasons why I am on the side of Trump and not on the side of just not being held accountable for less. So let's go.
This room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in DC, and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that.
And he's telling the truth. There are so many cases where people simply are out and about trying to take the bus, trying to go to the convenience store, trying to go to school to get their child or go to work or anything. And anywhere you are, you could find, unfortunately, some stupid idiots, ghetto birds that have a gun, who's trying to rob you, who's trying to bully you, who will kill you, point blank, period. Let me give you an example. Let me find this video real quick, because I really want to be thorough in this video. I've been gone for a little bit, but I really want people to understand the significance of what Trump is doing. There was a case recently where in Louisville, there was a mother that was fatally shot while she was walking her daughter to a bus stop. And this is the type of crime that should never be, you know what I'm saying? But because of people just being comfortable and, you know, with guns and driving by or just hanging out, you know, these type of crimes do happen. Let's take a look at this and then we'll get back to what Trump is talking on.
To be done, get in your community. Right. Don't expect them to do it for you. Because I'm here today because my niece was killed yesterday in front of her daughter and her niece and all the other children that was on the bus.
The family family of the young woman killed walking her daughter to school expressing outrage today at the spot where she was gunned down. One day after the gunfire shattered a neighborhood's morning routine, the community is making sure fear doesn't take over. That location is the same spot between 10th and 11th Streets on Chestnut Street, just outside the YMCA and near two JCPS schools. Thanks for joining us here at 5. I'm Connie Leonard. Today, parents, neighbors, and police stood watch at that very stop, determined to give kids the sense of safety that they deserve. Family tells us that Rhodesia Williams was just 23 years old and walking her daughter to the bus stop near Coleridge Taylor Elementary School. WHAS 11's Alexander Goldberg and photojournalist Jessica Farley have the family's emotional plea.
I had to watch my sister lay on that ground and take her last breath, and there's nothing I can do about it.
The family of 23-year-old Rhodesia Williams revisiting the very bus stop where the mother of two lost her life. Williams was known to friends and family by the nickname Juicy.
Smile. She was the life of the party. She had no filter. She didn't care.
And shit like up the room every time she come in. You know it's juice.
And we want the killers called ASAP. ASAP.
The morning after the fatal shooting near 10th and Chestnut, hand in hand, parents sent their students off for the school day, surrounded by community leaders, Louisville Metro Police, and the memory of the Louisville mother killed in front of her 7-year-old daughter.
This is my daughter's bus stop as well, so she witnessed this too. She's traumatized. So many questions.
A memorial for Rhodesia is growing here near the corner of 10th and Chestnut, the balloons bearing the name of the young mother.
Rhodesia Williams, remember her. Say her name, and you better remember me, because I ain't going nowhere.
Rhodesia's aunt and great uncle pleading for answers.
If you're a real man, say who done it. Please. Because it may be your child next. Let's keep confidence today.
About it is this woman might have been someone who was approached by one of these punks who hit on her, and she might have said she wasn't interested or anything of that nature, and you know that was all it took to get her to get shot and killed, or just for sport. A lot of them just do it for sport. They get a gun, they try to initiate themselves in gangs, and they just pick somebody out to murder, to unalive. There's just so many different causes to why these situations keep happening, and a lot of it is because there is no accountability and there's no family structure for a lot of the younger youths in the community who don't have father figures, who do not have anyone telling them the right thing to do, is not rearing them up in the right frame of mind to have maturity wise and other things of that nature. So they get mixed up in other crowds of people, committing crimes and doing stupid stuff just to pass the time. And this is the type of cases that Trump is trying to get a hold over, because we should not live in fear in our community. We shouldn't be fearing walking a kid to a bus station or a bus stop. But that's what happened to that young lady. Rest in peace to her and her family. I really don't like seeing cases like that, but they seem to happen quite often. So at what point should Trump actually do something? I think this is the best time, while he is restructuring a lot of other things and he is getting out the riffraff of the illegals. He might as well join in the festivities of getting the riffraff out of the community as well. And I'm not mad about it. A lot of other people are saying that he is doing too much too soon without proof and all these other types of things. There's proof all over the place, though. Come on, let's keep it 100.
Buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today, is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. Yeah, just like we did on our southern border. Nobody comes to our southern border anymore. 3 months in a row, we had zero. I don't know if that's right, but the people that do the work, it's a very liberal group of people, actually, and they actually said zero for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And, when you say take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is, okay, the red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these. Baghdad we doubled up on Baghdad. Panama City, Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs. Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru, all double and triple what they are. So do you want to live in places like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people
I know
in this
that's
room,
right. I don't think so either. What's up, Pinky? Long time no see. I'm so glad that you were able to find me. Unfortunately, my other channel, I probably won't be on that for a long time. I cannot remember the password. So this will be the official platform that I use moving forward. I hope that you guys would all support by hitting the like and subscribing to the channel. You know that I speak the truth, and this is necessary as far as having a voice that's going to represent Black Americans in the right narration, not having Democrats get in front of our voices, not having Pan-Africans get in front of our voices, and other melanated global Black folks that decide to come to America and try to take away from our narrative and our voices to speak up for ourselves, and they try to pretend to be us and represent us. So this platform is for the purposes of representing a true perspective of a Black American. I call myself Indigenous American Black or Indigenous Black American, so that we don't get lost in the sauce and misrepresented by so many other people with other agendas and other narratives that have nothing to do with the true essence of who I am and who we are as a people as a whole. That's why I have this platform, and I hope to make people understand the significance of how I feel, whatever conversation that I bring to this platform, that you guys get the gist of it. You said Washington, D.C. has always been a problem. Trump is just the first president to try to protect. I'm not mad at him for doing what he's doing. I really am in agreement with this. I don't feel comfortable, to be honest with you, Pinky, and everybody listening, with the younger generation of people that have access to getting guns, being part of gangs, and just shooting in a crowd of people, killing at will, just doing the most. Trump is trying to what do you call it? He's trying to be like a beacon of hope for us, to let us know that, he's going to turn the page on all the stuff that's been going on in our community. So it might seem forceful at first, but it's a great deterrent to persuade some of these punks to maybe change their point of view. Because if they don't mind going to jail, then I guess that's what they're going to do, or become unalived or whatever might happen, get deported somewhere, somewhere else, because I'm pretty sure Trump is going to be looking into deporting some of these people. I mean, he has places in Africa now and other places. I would not be surprised if some of those people ended up there, and it would be all behind them and their stupidity and not being held accountable for their own actions. And if he has to step in and show them who's boss, then it is what it is. You said all the Black Americans in Washington, D.C. are happy for the protection. Yes, I'm going to show a video about that a little bit later, but I wanted to let him say what needed to be said or stated before I go and show that. But let's get back to what Trump is saying. Doggone well, he's not lying. Now, I know that the Doge employee of Elon Musk, I forgot his name, he was supposedly mugged or fought off carjackers that kind of spawned this this address by Trump. I'm not quite sure if I really believe that this really happened to the Doge employee. I don't see a skinny white guy running into a crowd of black folks that are committing a crime in the middle of committing a crime and try to be a superhero. I'm not quite sure if I buy that story, but it's not like different crimes are happening. Hold on for a sec. All right, it's not like the crimes are not happening, and it's not like we don't have a whole host of people becoming unalive without any type of effort on their part. They don't have to do anything. They just have to be nearby in the vicinity where all this stuff happens, and then bodies be dropping all over the place. And Trump is addressing what needs to be addressed, no matter if that story is actual or not. I mean, how do you feel, Pinky? Do you feel that Doge story of the employee of Doge was actually accosted by somebody, and that is the reason why Trump is doing this? Let me see if I can find attacked. Let me see if I can find that story. I just found it very hard to believe. I couldn't believe it. Let me see. I'm gonna play this real quick. This is they said his name was Big Balls, and he was supposedly brutally attacked in DC. And this is what it said.
A federal takeover of DC after police say a former Doge employee was brutally beaten in the nation's capital.
Lucas Tomlinson is live in Washington with the latest for us. Lucas?
Well, good morning, Ainsley. Big Balls bloodied. The 19-year-old former Doge staffer beaten by a violent mob of minors in the nation's capital in a popular part of town. According to police, a 15-year-old male and a 15-year-old female were arrested and charged with unarmed carjacking. The attack prompting President Trump to post, "Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local, quote, youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs." Trump warned if crime is not dealt with properly, he may be forced to take over.
Somebody from Doge was very badly hurt last night. You saw that. A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. And either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
See, I don't know, from what it sounds like, it might have been a little bit embellished. I just don't see a young guy running into a crowd of thugs and calling himself trying to be a superhero. But nonetheless, whether or not that story is 100% accurate or not, I still feel like Trump needs to get involved because of what I have been listening up on. A lot of different crimes as of late I've been listening up and following up on. And some of those things we're going to talk about a little bit later. But yeah, I think that, you know, whatever Trump needs to do to stave off the attitudes of some of these criminals, to stop in their tracks before they get going, I'm all for what he's doing. You said I didn't hear it in full, just bits and parts, but it doesn't sound real. That's what I'm saying. You said where the white boy lived in that city, maybe if the teens that beat him should have had jobs there. I just don't buy it. None of them had weapons on them, and they supposedly were attacking a white woman or girl or something, and then he got involved. And I don't know. I just don't buy it. I really don't see that being as truthful as possible. You said, but I do know that the real reason is doing this is to get the blacks online. Get the blacks online? What do you mean by that? You mean to get us to protest? Because we're not going to do that. I'm not protesting none of this. I'm not getting involved at all. But let's get back to this and have him explain a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. DC, 41 per 100,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. Is that where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And we had a recent indication, there was a story about a man who was just left. He quit because he was asked to do phony numbers on crime. And we're going to look into that. I think Pam is going to be looking into that. But he was asked by the city, I guess, that we don't want to show the real numbers. Let me do numbers so it looks like it's going down. Not going down. And under Biden, it was a disaster. And nobody did anything about it. We're going to do things about it like you wouldn't believe. Every American has a constitutional right to be able to access and petition their government in safety, and countless federal officials and employees likewise have the right to carry out their jobs in peace without being shot. As you know, I lost a very good person a while ago, was shot waiting for his wife. He was in the car. They robbed his car. They shot him. They killed him like it was nothing to it. She was walking to the car. It's a horror show. This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America. Really, it's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with DC, and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. Days ago, a former member of the Doge staff was savagely beaten by a band of roving thugs after defending a young woman from an attempted carjacking. He was left dripping in blood. He thought he was dead, with a broken nose and concussion. Can't believe that he's alive. He can't believe it. In June, a 21-year-old congressional intern was tragically killed after being hit by a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting. A former Trump administration official named Mike Gill, fantastic person, was murdered last year in cold blood in a carjacking blocks away from the White House. We all knew him. Great person. Waiting for his wife as she was walking to the car. A Democrat congressman was also carjacked at gunpoint not far from the Capitol. And in 2023, an aide to Senator Rand Paul was stabbed in the chest and head by a demented lunatic as he walked down the street, just absolutely for no reason. Horrifically, last July 4th weekend, a 3-year-old girl was shot in the head and killed while sitting in a car near the Capitol. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live.
So that's a very interesting statement. He's getting rid of the slums. So what does that mean? That the so-called ghetto, or I don't know what you guys would call it, because I never lived in those type of neighborhoods before. But I mean, is he gonna make everybody homeless? I mean, I don't understand what he means by that, but I'm gonna pay more close attention to what happens, I guess. But you know, something has to give, because the attitudes of a lot of these younger individuals in the community, they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to live for. They have nothing to lose. They don't care who they harm. They are very self-centered, and they're seekers for attention and making a name for themselves. And a lot of people get harmed behind this type of attitude. And I want to turn now, because I don't want to bore y'all with watching Trump so much, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard what he had to say. But, you know, I'm going to talk about a few cases that I found. We're going to get into that a little bit to give you an understanding as to the elements of types of riffraff that I'm referring to in the title. There was a guy by the name, a young man by the name of Nathaniel Abraham, 11 years old, and he shot and killed a man from a distance, okay? A lot of them start very, very young, and they be handled very lightly, and they grow up as criminals throughout their whole entire adulthood. This particular case is very interesting because the guy, since this 11-year-old, when he was that young, he has been spotted years later committing other crimes after the fact. But we're going to get into Nathaniel Abraham right now. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he was only 11 years old when this happened. So let's take a look at this case real quick.
In the fall of 1997, the name Nathaniel Abraham would become known across the United States. But long before the infamous crime, his life had already been marked by trouble. Born in 1986 in Pontiac, Michigan, Nathaniel's early years were shaped by hardship. His father left shortly after he was born, and his mother, Gloria, struggled to raise 6 children on her own. To keep the family afloat, Gloria worked 2 jobs, leaving little time to supervise her children. Nathaniel, often left to his own devices, quickly became a problem child. By the age of 9, he had already encountered law enforcement 22 times. His rap sheet was filled with disturbing incidents: arson, assault, and breaking and entering. But perhaps the most alarming aspect of Nathaniel's behavior was his increasing use of violence. He didn't just act out, he was a danger to his community. Neighbors recalled stories of him threatening people, throwing rocks at houses, and even pointing a gun at a young girl when they were both just 9 years old. His actions had a ripple effect, making the neighborhood a tense and fearful place. One neighbor, concerned for their own safety, even moved away, saying they feared Nathaniel would one day kill someone. This wasn't just a troubled child, it was a child whose behavior was rapidly spiraling out of control. Gloria, desperately seeking help, turned to the police and juvenile courts. But every attempt to get Nathaniel the support he needed was met with frustration. She was sent back and forth between authorities, no one willing to take decisive action. Her helplessness grew, and with every day that passed, Nathaniel's descent into delinquency continued unchecked. What was happening to Nathaniel was part of a larger troubling trend in America. The 1980s saw an alarming rise in juvenile crime. largely fueled by the crack epidemic. In cities like Pontiac, children and teens were often lured into violent lifestyles, surrounded by drugs, guns, and gangs. Nathaniel, like many others, was caught in the web of this environment. Nathaniel Abraham's early life wasn't just a series of isolated incidents. It was part of a broader, more troubling story of juvenile delinquency in America during the late 1980s. The crack epidemic was devastating inner cities, and Pontiac was no exception. For many young people like Nathaniel, the streets became a breeding ground for violence, crime, and desperation. By the age of 9, Nathaniel was already well versed in the dangerous world that many children in his neighborhood found themselves in. While Nathaniel's mother, Gloria, worked tirelessly to support her family, she was often absent from his day-to-day life. With no stable adult figure around.
And that is the primary issue right there. She's a single mother. She got 5 kids to take care of. She has to work 2 jobs. She's leaving the kids to watch over the other kids. And so these kids are idle and they're roaming around in the streets, and other adults gets to have access to those kids. They get to influence them. They get to encourage them to commit crime, to make money on the side, or to get shoes or whatever the hell it is. And this is the type of environment that he unfortunately had to deal with, because he didn't have a father at home. He didn't have a mother at home to rear him and to support him in the right fashion that you need to have as a child. So he was just left with all this idle time. And if you don't have something to fill your time, you more than likely will find the negative aspects of the community, and that is what he found. And in the 80s, of course, there was a lot of crack, which was put in our neighborhoods on purpose, and unfortunately it rained havoc in our community. And this is what he got caught up in. He was influenced by, but you can just tell him being idle and not having an adult to rear him really affected him in a negative way. Let's go.
To guide him, Nathaniel became a product of his environment, a neighborhood rife with crime and neglect. The lack of supervision only fueled his rebellious and violent behavior, making him a notorious figure in the community. He was no longer just a misbehaving child. He had become a genuine threat to the people around him. His repeated encounters with the law went unnoticed by many, and the system seemed ill-equipped to deal with his growing criminality. Nathaniel's mother had reached out to the police multiple times, hoping they could step in and provide some intervention. But instead of offering the help she desperately needed, the authorities referred her to the juvenile courts. Once she went there, they sent her back to the police, telling her there was nothing they could do because her word wasn't enough. This cycle of neglect continued, and Nathaniel's behavior grew worse. By age 11, he had racked up a disturbing history of violent encounters, at least 5 of which involved weapons. One incident involved him beating a 14-year-old with a steel pipe, while another had him assaulting an adult. The trouble didn't stop there. Neighbors began to fear for their safety. Some, like one particular neighbor, became so frightened that they decided to move away entirely, predicting that one day Nathaniel would kill someone. Yet despite all of this, Nathaniel's case was never given the attention it needed by the authorities. In a country that was grappling with rising juvenile violence, there was little support for children who had already fallen so far down a destructive path.
And that's all that they have really, is the system, which is not really equipped to deal with kids with bad behavior. The juvenile courts, or even having him put in a foster home or other things of that nature, does not cultivate a good environment for these kids to grow up. I want to find a better video of him, a shorter video to describe him, because as he grew older, he still kept on keeping with all this crime. I'm going to show you a couple of other videos of him. As he got older, he still was involved in different types of crimes. Let me see if I can find a smaller one. He's just all over the place. If you look him up, you can find a lot of different videos about him. but he ended up killing somebody at the age of 11. And that is the point of what Trump is talking about. Let me see. Here is another video of him when he was older, obviously not 11 years old, but he was well established in the system. He was known as the youngest murder convict in Michigan. And he was back in court years later. So let's look at some of the things that he did and what he went through.
Oh, and happening today, Michigan's youngest murder convict will be back in court.
Yes, we're talking about Nathaniel Abraham, and he was only free from the justice system for a few days before he found himself back behind bars, facing several charges now. Let's get to Nick Monticelli. He shows us the very latest arrest and how it turned violent.
The Oakland County Sheriff's Department says when they finally found Nathaniel Abraham on the streets, they were forced to tase him because the moment they got there, he immediately went into a fighting stance. And they say one of their deputies has contusions to the point where he has to be off of work for a week. This is Nathaniel Abraham's latest mugshot after missing a court date and then fleeing police and allegedly punching them. Oakland County Sheriff's deputies tased Abraham to bring him in.
He starts fighting with the deputies. Two of them get glancing blows to the head. One gets a scratch on the nose. A fourth deputy in uniform shows up and ultimately had to deploy a taser in order to get him down on the ground and take him into custody.
Tase him! Tase him, Bernie!
In the neighborhood where this happened, people looked at the video on Facebook of the tasing. Some believe the deputies were too aggressive.
I seen that I seen him running, and then I heard the taser. Like, they just kept tasing him. He just kept saying, "Can y'all please stop tasering me?"
Abraham, though, has a long history of controversial run-ins with police. At age 11, he was convicted of murder and sentenced as a juvenile. He got out at 21 years old wearing a fur coat as he left prison. A short time later, he was involved in drugs and arrested again. This week, fresh out of prison again, he was arrested for indecent exposure. Yesterday morning, he was supposed to be at court and did not show. Local 4 legal expert Neil Rockine says today's events could be serious trouble for Abraham.
I mean, if he was looking to go back to prison, he found a way to do it.
Now, you may have recognized in this video, there are several police cars there. The Oakland County Sheriff's Department says they do have the dash cam video, and they will release it today after Abraham is arraigned. In the newsroom, Nick Monticelli, Local 4 News today.
See, a lot of these kids, when they get older, they don't learn or get rehabilitated. They just kind of grow into a bigger type of monster, and they carry it forward. And this particular guy, Nathaniel Abraham, he was continuously in the custody of police because of his bad behavior. And that's just showing you where it all stems from. And where it all stems from is him not having a father figure, his mother not being able to really be an at-home mother, and him just running amok to do as he wants to do. And this attitude, unfortunately, is very prevalent in the Black community, especially in the ghetto. This type of attitude, a big ego for no reason, is fostered into the community overall. And you just see this bad behavior is out of control. It's really out of control. Now, I want to show one more video of him. This is when he was arrested for allegedly selling meth, heroin, also in Michigan, when he was a little bit older. And you just see that this guy is more than likely going to continue going back in and out of jail for the rest of his life until someone like Trump comes along and snatches his ass and puts him somewhere in Africa in jail. This probably would end up being Nathaniel Abraham's situation coming up, because no one knows how to deal with this type of person. And he doesn't have no control over his emotions. He doesn't know how to adequately deal with behavior, his bad behavior. And so this is why Trump is sick and tired of these types of people that are allowed to commit crime and riffraff in the community because it affects the whole entire community. People that are just there passing by could be targeted because of this type of individual that is lashing out. Let's take a look at him when he was a little bit older.
Nathaniel Abraham, one of the youngest people in the U.S. to be convicted of murder, once again facing criminal charges. This time, he could spend decades behind bars.
Abraham, just this afternoon, appearing before a judge. Police say he was selling drugs in Farmington Hills and Pontiac.
It is just the latest in a long list of troubles for Abraham since he was convicted as a child back in 1997. Tonight, new questions are being raised about Michigan's juvenile justice system.
7 Action News reporter Jim Kirchner live on Warwick Drive in Pontiac, where Abraham was arrested late last night with exclusive new information. Jim, what do you have for us?
Yeah, Dave, my sources are telling me he was arrested here last night with a SWAT team because of his past trouble, and they followed him here after a hand-to-hand drug buy with undercover officers, a case that's been in development for a couple of weeks in Pontiac and Farmington Hills. Nathaniel Abraham continues to rewrite his history and Michigan's history.
I feel real good, man. And, I'm going to enjoy it, appreciate it, and not take advantage of it.
His notoriety grew in 2007 wearing flashy clothes. Abraham released from juvenile detention under Michigan law on his 21st birthday. A decade earlier, he'd been convicted of second-degree murder for the shooting death of Ronnie Green outside a liquor store in Pontiac. Dr. Gerald Shiner worked on the case for the defense.
What you have is an 11-year-old kid with an IQ of 70 who's totally unsupervised in his neighborhood. Running loose, mother paid no attention to him.
Dr. Shiner says no one should be surprised that as an adult, Abraham now has 3 drug cases, and just last year, an indecent exposure case, coupled with a resisting and assaulting police during that arrest. The doctor says Abraham should have been placed in a tight foster home setting with parents as a teen.
He needed help, he needed supervision, he needed vocational rehabilitation. He needed an education, not only in how to read and write, but how to socialize and how to live in the real world.
After his arrest last night, his defense attorney says Abraham was kept in the K block in the Oakland County Jail, isolated in a small cell with only a blanket.
He's larger than life. Everybody knows who he is, and he will be a target, I believe, for the rest of his life.
Now, Abraham is facing...
And that's the issue right there. He more than likely will be in and out of prison or jail until something happens to him, unfortunately. Let me see what you said. Let me see. Let me go back up. You said lock him up for good. Something is wrong with him. Definitely something is not right with him chemically, in his mind, his brain is off. It's sad. And you said where he get a gun. That's what I would like to know. How are these kids able to get access to a damn gun? I guess because they know of somebody on the street, and these street peddling type of drug heads or dealers or whatever, probably just let them borrow one. Who knows? My God, it's crazy. You said black women, I blame you. Stop having those children. I think that they should definitely keep their legs closed if they do not know that man is going to be in their life. Like, why would you want to have a child and struggle with that child all by yourself? It doesn't make sense to me. I never, ever wanted to be one of those types of women. He said he didn't get what he needed. Some kids are okay on their own. Some aren't. He's definitely not the type that needs to be left alone, not even for a little bit. You said poverty breeds crime. I know the people who want to punish have figured that out already. Yes. And who bought him a fur coat? I don't know. Somebody's stupid. They should have bought him a book. You said Americans won't get deported against our Constitution. I don't know about that, Pinky, because I did catch a video where Trump had said that he was going to see about having people that were long time criminals to maybe get them deported as well. Let me see if I can find a video. Trump says I think he called them in-home or ingrown. What did he call them? Homegrown. Oh, okay. Homegrown criminals to be deported. I believe I did see a video where he said this. Let me see if it pops up or not.
American criminals. In an interview on Tuesday, the president said he would love to deport American criminals to be imprisoned in El Salvador. He defined homegrown criminals as, quote, the ones that grew up and something went wrong and they hit people over the head with a baseball bat and push people into the subways just before the train gets there, like you see happen sometimes. Experts say there's no legal pathway to deport a U.S.-born citizen. Read more at Forbes.com. Trump says the Trump administration.
It says they're saying that it's not legal to do, but Trump is trying to figure out a way in which to change it. Maybe he won't succeed in doing it, but if it's possible, Trump is definitely looking to do something like that for the type of Nathaniel Abraham, a guy that he feels, or most would feel, would never ever get correctness about themselves, that they're too far gone. Now I have a couple of other cases that I kind of want to show, just to show you the type of situation that we got going on in our community. And there's just so many cases to show. It's really, really sad. Now, this particular video I found to be very outrageous. This particular thug, who was a teenager killer, was very disrespectful in the courtroom, showcasing how heartless he was when the family of the deceased were given their statements about what he did and how he responded. This just goes to show you how bad off some of these teenagers can get. And this is the type of attitude that I wouldn't want around me. I don't feel comfortable going where teenagers are these days because they don't have no respect. They don't care about if you're a woman. They don't care if you're grown. They don't give a damn. And they're very dangerous and real quick to talk crazy and to put their hands on you if they don't like you. So this is a prime example of what I don't want to encounter.
He laughed in their faces as they mourned their son, mocking their pain with every smirk. Shondell Jackson, a 19-year-old killer from Milwaukee, thought his arrogance would defy justice. But when the judge's gavel fell, his laughter turned to chaos, igniting a courtroom brawl that shocked the nation. This is the chilling tale of a teen whose remorseless taunts led to his downfall. Don't let this horrifying case fade into silence. Subscribe now to uncover the darkest true crime stories before they're forgotten. Ignore this and you'll miss the truth. Join us or tell us in the comments why you'd rather stay in the dark. On July 6, 2009, a senseless robbery in Milwaukee's River West neighborhood turned deadly, leaving a family shattered and a community outraged. Shondell Jackson, a teen with a growing rap sheet, set out to steal but ended up killing, only to mock his victim's grieving family in court with laughter that would spark chaos. Shondell Tyre Jackson, born in 1990, grew up in Milwaukee's tough streets, raised by his mother, Rachette Jackson, without knowing his biological father. Surrounded by poverty and
yet again, another child without a father. It is definitely a pattern. These young men definitely are being harmed by not having father figures in their life. And it's so sad that these mothers won't get their brothers involved or their grandparent involved or some other adult male to intercede for them and to assist these young men, knowing that they're going to have problems without having a male figure in the family. And this is the primary issue. They don't know how to handle their emotions. They don't know how to handle their behavior because they're not told by a male figure what and how to be as a little boy, as a young man, as a young teenager. And then they just spiral out of control and they don't know how to handle their tendencies to be bad. And this is, unfortunately, what has been going on in our community for far too long. And I would hope that women that are listening that don't have kids yet, that you would consider, if you do make a child, to definitely have your family on board to assist your child in rearing your child. Don't let your child become this. Please don't do it.
Violence. He lost a mentor to murder early on, pushing him toward crime. By 19, he'd racked up arrests for resisting police and carrying a concealed weapon. A week before his fatal act, he shot another man in a non-fatal incident, escalating his reckless path. That July night, Jackson, 18, and his 20-year-old accomplice, Derek Thomas, targeted 21-year-old Nathan Potter, a University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee film student, walking home to his River West apartment. They demanded money, but when Potter had none, Jackson shot him in the chest, execution style, leaving him dead on North Dousman Street. Hours earlier, Jackson was linked to another shooting, showing his thirst for violence. The motive? Power, not profit. Jackson fled Milwaukee on a bus to Mississippi, hiding with relatives for over 2 months. But on September 14, 2009, his uncle, Gerald Hawkins, tipped off police, leading to his arrest in Gulfport. Derek Thomas, arrested days after the murder, confessed, implicating Jackson as the shooter. Jackson admitted to the killing with chilling calm. In custody, Jackson's lack of remorse stunned detectives. He described shooting Potter like a casual choice, smirking as he boasted about avoiding witnesses. His confession, paired with Thomas's testimony and matching shell casings, sealed his fate. In February 2010, Jackson's trial in Milwaukee County for first-degree intentional homicide and attempted robbery gripped the city. His behavior was infuriating. He smirked, cursed, and made taunting gestures at Nathan Potter's family during their emotional impact statements.
Judge, there's nothing that can be said to bring back our Nathan. But your sentence can ensure that Shondell does not have the opportunity as a free man to inflict pain like this again. Is there such thing as pure evil? We think so.
They shot him. They dragged him and kicked him to the curb. My son, my God-loving boy. What kind of people do this? But evil people. People that need to be locked up forever.
His mother, Rachette Jackson, pleaded to the court, insisting, "My son is not a monster."
When I saw it on the news, I even cried. I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine what that mother is going through. I never had a clue that my child had anything to do with it. My son is not a monster. He is not a monster.
But the prosecution, led by Mark Williams, showed damning footage of Jackson's smirks and obscenities post-verdict, crushing any sympathy. Just before sentencing, Jackson was given a chance to speak, where he briefly apologized for his behavior and begged, "I apologize for my behavior. Please don't take my life from me."
Mercy. I apologize for my behavior. Please don't take my life from me.
On April 16, 2010, Judge Rebecca Dallett sentenced Jackson to life without parole for Potter's murder, plus 5 years for attempted robbery and 5 for the earlier non-fatal shooting. Jackson erupted, cursing the judge and fighting deputies who pepper sprayed him and wrestled him to the ground in a chaotic brawl.
Life and the need to protect the community, which I also fear for with Mr. Jackson. Being out in the community. I am going to go ahead on count 1, the first degree intentional homicide conviction, and I am going to sentence Mr. Jackson to life imprisonment without possibility for extended supervision. I know that that is something that is reserved for the most serious of cases, and I believe that this case rises to that level.
He definitely was damaged goods, and his mother is a pitiful excuse of a woman. You know, I don't get why some people are parents that don't need to be parents, and she's one of those types that did not need to be a parent. Obviously, her son is too far gone, and now he's going to have to spend the rest of his life in jail, and you know that he's going to be taken advantage of by other inmates and whatnot because he's so young. It's just an ugly cycle that unfortunately is prevalent in the community, and this is why, one of the reasons why I feel like Trump needed to do something to try to help, you know, put fear in the heart of some of these people that are out here acting a fool. You gotta start from somewhere. And that teenager smirking all over the place, acting like it's all fun and games until he really realized that his life was over. And then all of a sudden he wants to get all mad and get all tough in court. He should have thought about that before he did bad behavior, shooting and killing and doing all those types of things. Then he wouldn't have to be where he's at. Let me see what you're saying in the chat, Pinky. Thank you for being here again. I really appreciate you. You said then he needs to deport all the anchor babies and DACA recipients first. Oh, he's definitely doing that too, Pinky. I'm seeing so many cases of illegals all over the place being taken off the streets. And I was going to talk about that if I had time a little bit later. But Trump's not playing with nobody at this point. He is not playing. Pinky says a lot of black men don't want to be bothered with someone else's son. They don't want to be bothered with their own. You're right about that, Pinky. And that's why we're in the dilemma that we are in. We have fake leaders such as Umar Johnson running around acting like he got a master plan for a damn school while he's not providing a school, but ripping us off. Now he's talking about he owes $40,000 in taxes or whatever the hell they're charging him on. He's trying to get us to pay for that. He doesn't take care of his 2 daughters. He abandons his own responsibility, and he tries to act like he is the guy to follow. It's very unfortunate that we have so many people that should not be in our spaces and our faces, and yet all we have is these fake men that are prancing about acting like they somebody and they're not. Let me see. Women in our group are going to have to start doing what white and immigrant women do in pregnancies. Wow. I just say keep your legs closed, women. These days, sex is not all that serious. You're not missing out on nothing. I mean, the skyrocketed rates of HIV and other diseases that's going on right now, in addition to people getting pregnant and being left abandoned and all that, it's just not worth what it used to be worth back in the day. Maybe in the 70s and the 80s, you could have gotten away with having that type of lifestyle. But now you are getting caught up in a lot of different consequences with bad behavior. So I would suggest that women keep your legs closed. Know who you are dealing with before you go in sexually, because you don't want to have an unwanted child that you're going to end up raising to be a monster, a swamp monster at that. That's going to be terrorists in our community. And that's basically what she had. And her teen son was a fucking terrorist in our community. And I don't feel bad that he is going to jail for the rest of his days, because he's not on the street killing people. He's not on the street raping people. He's not on the street robbing and beating up people. And that's all that he knows how to do. That's all he knows how to do, is destroy and be destructive. And that's unfortunately what it is. And that's what that attitude, that disposition has to be dealt with. And it has to be dealt with harshly. You said a lot of times these young people will harm other children that have parents that care about them. You're right, out of jealousy. You're right about that. And you said, I can't stand to see these pale people calling others evil after what Europeans did when their countries dumped them here because they don't want them. I heard that, Pinky. I don't know why his people are crying. They can still see him because they know that he's not going to be treated so kindly in jail. A lot of these teenage types of terrorists, when they get to jail, they end up being punked and made into bitches and hoes in jail. They get pimped out. So I'm pretty sure that her son is gonna be one made into a hoe soon. It ain't even gonna take long. You said the rest of his life locked up is where he needs to be. Unfortunately, that is true. You said a lot of married men leave their families also. Pressure from responsibility, they flee. I wish, Pinky, that Trump would make laws surrounding accountability to these men, that are able to get away with leaving and dumping their kid. He should make it a crime and have them have to do some time about causing, because they are pretty much the creator of this bad behavior that their children have when they're not there. Why won't Trump or somebody target the fathers that abandon kids that cause these crimes? If he kind of did that, or made it harder for them to work, or make it harder for them to be freed, I think that this stuff would stop. These men will start wearing condoms. These men will start, using protective sexual practices and stuff. They wouldn't be out here just laying it down and squirting all over the place. It's just sad that this is the situation that we find ourselves in. And there's just so many cases upon cases. Here's another one. Here's a 15-year-old that was sentenced to 40 years for a triple murder, y'all. A triple murder. This is what we're gonna get to this in just a second after this commercial's over. But look at this. This is ridiculous. It goes on and on and on. And this is why Trump is coming for the riffraff of our community. And this is why I'm in agreement to what he's doing.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Continuing with your top stories and headlines, we now head to the Sunshine State of Florida. Happening today, 2 teens who were involved in the triple murder of 3 other teens in Marion County will be sentenced. Detectives say the 3 teens were all involved in low-level gang activity. The triple murder happening back in 2023. We want to check in now with Fox 35 Orlando's Amanda McKenzie. She joins us live from the Marion County Courthouse. Amanda, good morning. We're learning one teen was sentenced yesterday.
That's right, and the judge said in his 35-year career that he had never seen a 12-year-old charged with homicide. Christopher Atkins was sentenced yesterday. He's now 15 years old and was given the minimum sentence after pleading guilty. He will spend the next 40 years in jail convicted of homicide, armed robbery, tampering with evidence, and a separate battery committed while in jail. The teen spoke in court right before he was sentenced.
I think like it's just y'all think I'm bad. I'm not. I promise you I'm not. I promise you give me another chance. I promise you gonna see what I'm talking about. Like I promise you. I bet you gonna see me on that TV doing good.
Families of the 3 victims, Layla Silvernail, Camille Quarles, and Michael Hodo, were all in the courtroom, all crying, cursing, and asking for the maximum penalty for Christopher Atkins, who was 12 years old when he shot and killed 16-year-old Camille Quarles. The triple murder happened on March 30th, 2023, when 6 kids were riding in a car together. There was an alleged plan to rob a 16-year-old at gunpoint. Atkins says Taj Bruton, for reasons that are not clear, shot Michael Hodo. Then Robert Robinson shot Layla Silvernail, which led to her car crashing. When they got out, Atkins says Robertson threatened to kill him and his family if he didn't shoot Camille Quarles. He did, and then says Robertson shot her and again and killing her. Atkins has a month to appeal his 40-year sentence. As for the other 2 teens that are co-defendants in this case, Bruton is scheduled to be sentenced today at 9 a.m. and Robinson at 1:30 p.m. Reporting live from the Marion County Courthouse, Amanda McKenzie, back to you.
All right, Amanda,
it just goes on and on and on. They get younger and younger and younger and more violent, and just scary to imagine what they're capable of. I don't want to find out. I don't want to risk my life to even be in the presence of these types of people. That's why I avoid them like the plague. And it's very surreal to see how young looking they look in their face, and then they got their whole life just trashed forever. He's going to be in jail for 40 years at least. And that's just unfortunate, but that's what we're dealing with right now. Let me see. Pinky says, after hearing Black men asking to have child support canceled, I don't know why women still have children with them. They were asking a man running for president last election. Really? They're just cowards. A lot of these men, in my opinion, Pinky, do not want to be men. Did you hear about the men, I forgot where they were, wearing red dresses? Was it Atlanta? Let me see. Men were wearing red dresses. Let me see. Men, I'm going to just play this short clip. But yeah, a lot of men are punking out. They are not wanting to be a real man, and they are doing the worst stuff ever. And they want to be women so bad. And so they had this type of function where men decided to wear red dresses recently for some type of, I forgot what the reason was. Let me see if this is going to explain it. But this is just another, in New Orleans, they wore an annual red dress run, and it's supposedly going to be going viral. And I just want y'all to look at this, but this is just sad and pathetic. I remember a time when men were proud to be men, and now it seems like it's so hard to find. Men are making up excuses to why they cannot be real men. And they're just giving women all the reason not to respect them, not to follow them, because they take every opportunity to punk out, to tap out, to be like bitches. And I think it has a lot to do with not wanting to be held accountable for what men are supposed to be held accountable. They're supposed to be more accountable than women are because they're supposed to be leaders. Women are supposed to follow their lead. And if you have that type of power, you're supposed to have that type of accountability to match that type of responsibility. But no, instead, you see men these days doing this right here.
All right, so it's music over this one. So we just gonna observe and give our thoughts on it, you know? So they're saying this is New Orleans annual Red Dress Run. It's the Red Dress Run in New Orleans. This is a popping event. Seems like it's majority black men up here. See,
I mean, it's just the shame of it all. I am so embarrassed myself looking at this. This does not show any remnants of an attribute of a man that's supposed to carry the weight of men. And like I said, they try to popularize being punks. They're trying to popularize every way that a man can tap out and be more women-like.
Couple white people down here, so not only black men. My question are, where are the black women, right? I'm seeing mostly...
We should be, in New Orleans, women should be very upset. I would make all the men in my life that partook in that, I would ostracize them. I would cut them off. I would not stand for this. I don't know how the women are responding to that, but this is just an example of what I mean, that we definitely have something going on wrong in our community. And a lot of men are finding it very easy to be bitches. And it's really, truly, it goes back to, you know, men not wanting to be men. They just don't want the responsibility. That's what it all boils down to. Let me see. Let me go back up. You said, I seen a black man the other day asking that child support be canceled as part of reparations. What? You said, I watched a lot of those videos covering that parade. There were a few black women there. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. And then you wonder why the DL situation is blooming. You wonder why HIV is all over the place. Because these men, again, they're just tapping out to be someone's bitch and hoe. I've just never understood. I'm so glad that I'm not in that lifestyle right now, because it's really a shameful thing to witness. I don't want no affiliation or association with any of these types of people that don't know how to stand on their own 2 feet. Yeah, it's just a crying shame, man. Wow. Okay, I'm going to show one more video pertaining to a teen. Just recently, a Columbus teen was sentenced to over 9 years after repeated arrest and probation violations. But this goes back to, these people are in a cycle of just bad behavior, and they don't care what their outcome is because they don't care about their life. They really don't have nothing to live for. They don't have nothing to lose. And this ends up being the types of people that are repeated criminals that enter into the system and they keep coming back. So this type of issue is what Trump is wanting to address.
Well, now it's 6.
It's one of those times where do I take the chance or not? And I figured in this situation, taking the chance with a bigger, how should I say, mallet over his head, because point blank is, I'll deliver the consequences if he screws this up.
Well, that was Franklin County Common Pleas Judge Michael Holbrook telling our Lacey Chris in March why he decided to sentence a teen to community control instead of serving time behind bars. For years, 10 TV's Lacey Chris has been warning you about the Kia boys and how to keep your family and your property safe. Well, today, one of those Kia boys was back in Judge Holbrook's courtroom, now facing a nearly decade-long sentencing, a shift in tone for those looking to steal cars.
Judge Holbrook told me he screwed up when he gave Akeem Benjamin one more chance and in March sentenced him to community control. Well, today, Holbrook sent Benjamin to prison. This was Mom, Tiffany Hammond, back in 2023, begging for judges, for his own good, to punish her son for stealing cars.
I've been begging and pleading. Please arrest him, lock him up, do something that's going to make him pay for the things that he's out here doing.
A month after that interview, Benjamin was shot while trying to steal another car. Last May, he was arrested in back-to-back days in Whitehall for his role in stealing cars and ramming into an undercover detective's vehicle. In March, Judge Holbrook sentenced Benjamin to community control.
And we're caught up into the game now. I was told by the prosecutor no one was hurt. That was important to me. If someone had been hurt, it had been a different decision.
In July, Benjamin violated that probation by being kicked out of a program.
It's time to grow up, man. Face life and realize we're a society.
And was back in front of Judge Holbrook today.
He can't get caught up in this crap he's been doing. This isn't a video game.
Despite the judge's admonishments, Benjamin did not say anything in court.
You and I talked last time when you gave him community release, and you said, I have hope for him. How'd that work out?
Didn't work out well, did it? Here we are.
Holbrook explained he sees a lot of teens like Benjamin in his courtroom, and he tries to set up programming so they don't return. He was frustrated Benjamin didn't take the last chance he was offered.
Disappointed to see him come back. He tried to give him guidance. You were in the courtroom. I talked to him at that time and explained what my expectations were. And didn't seem to work.
Benjamin will now spend the next 9.5 years in prison. In Columbus, Lacey Chris, 10 TV News.
So in that case, the judge was trying to be lenient to the guy. He tried to give him an opportunity to make a change, and he still continued on with crime. So now he's in jail for like 9 years. And I'm pretty sure when he gets out, he'll be a more harder criminal. Unfortunately, that's what they produce in this system. They don't rehabilitate them. They enhance their ability to be bigger and stronger monsters and more heartless about what they do, unfortunately. And that is why I'm not upset. And a lot of other Black Americans feel the same way as well. There are some that are saying, you know, it's not fair that Trump is going into Washington, D.C., that somehow that is going against our rights and freedoms and all of that. But like I say, if you're not partaking in committing crime, if you have always kind of like kept your nose clean and you did your part to stay out of that type of lifestyle, then you don't really have a lot to be worried about. It's only the ones that are criminals forever or have committed crimes already. They have already committed murder or robbery or muggings or carjackings or whatever, and maybe they have not been put on a list to be founded out. But I'm pretty sure that what Trump's doing with Washington, D.C., that soon thereafter, there are going to be people on some type of special list to go up and get hemmed up and get extracted from the community and placed in jail. And it's going to be all on their own, their behavior. This is what they chose to do. Nobody told them to do the things in which they do on a day-to-day basis. these people don't care about their outcomes. And this is why I don't care about what happens to them at this point either.
So Donald J. Trump decided to call in the National Guards and national and federalized police to help with the crime rate in DC. What happened? The usual suspect who came out and complained. People who do not live in these black neighborhoods. White liberal women, and the clowns on CNN and MSNBC. Those rich millionaires who get in their cars when they finish doing their report, they get in their cars and they go to the suburbs outside of DC and live a lovely life. They do not live in these up neighborhoods with these youngins acting a damn fool. These youngins are terrorizing older people like myself. We want them out because the mothers are nowhere to be found. The mothers drop these little battles off. They drop these 12, 13, 14-year-old little badass little kids off, and they leave them. They terrorize the public, the stores. You see that in Walgreens, the gas stations. They go in there by the hundreds and just take and tear up. And the police case thing because the Democratic mayors tell them, listen, don't say anything to them, it gets kids. But they're terrorizing the neighborhoods. That's all got. That's all got. In DC, majority of the people in that protest were white women complaining who do not live in DC. We don't need your help if you white. Leave us alone. We do not despise the cops. We want more cops. Because these little young folks are acting a damn fool. You rich people, you rich liberals, black and white, you do not live in these neighborhoods in Philadelphia, Oakland, Memphis. Older people that go through this every night. The boom, the fighting, the noise, they breaking your cars. Alarm goes off, you look outside, they trying to break in your cars. They 12 years old. 13. Where's the mother? The DOJ should start charging the mothers. Take care of your kids.
I think that they should start charging the missing fathers because the mothers are the ones that are sometimes trying to make a difference, not all the time. But what about the fathers? Why are they allowed to leave free and clear to have their kids be raised halfway to the point where they are implicated into being these monsters that we fear? I think Trump should look into people that abandon their kids and start from there. Figure out some way of penalizing these men, in my opinion. And like I said, a lot of us feel relieved that Trump is coming into the community because of the type of terrorism that these criminals, that these teenagers, that these gangbangers, drug peddlers, and all the others that come in the community, set up shop. People are scared to say something, and they're held hostage in their own community to where they can't do anything about it. So I don't feel bad. And this guy right here is speaking the truth. He's telling it from the lens point of, I am in these neighborhoods. This is the effect that I have witnessed and I know of.
I'm tired of seeing these liberal white people continue to tell us that we're being suppressed by the white man, which is Donald J. Trump. He's trying to help us. Leave us alone. We love policemen. We do not idolize George Floyd. It was a criminal. We do not idolize George Floyd. We want more police in our neighborhood. Leave Donald J. Trump alone. And thank you, Donald J. Trump.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel.
So that is a good example of a Black American that is speaking with sense. I'm so tired of people just throwing around racism, all this other, saying Trump is trying to be a dictator and all that kind of thing. And by the way, I timed you out, Zachary Green, because there is no F Donald Trump. Donald Trump is doing the work that needs to be done. This is way overdue. The Democrats have allowed our communities to run amok and just not be held to any type of standard for a very, very long time. And you finally have somebody that's not taking none of this. And it happens to be a white man, Donald Trump. And I have to salute Donald Trump for doing what he's doing, because if he can clear out some of the riffraff in our community, if he can stop some of this potential unaliving, this potential graping of the community, of people getting fentanyl in the community, of people having gangbangers all over the place, doing drive-bys, people running to crowds of people and just shooting into the crowd and just killing people at will. If he can stave that off by a certain amount of percentage, I salute him. He's going to save a lot of lives by what he's doing. He's going to put some fear in the hearts of some of these men that don't have no fear at all right now. He's going to try to get some of them that have a little bit of piece of brain to maybe clean up some of their actions, maybe clean up some of their bad behavior, maybe prompt them to go do other things to fix themselves before it's too late. Something has to give. And I'm not on the side of being a liberal. I am an independent person who happened to vote for Trump. And the first time I ever voted, I voted for Obama. And I really regret the fact that I voted for him, because he did absolutely nothing for my community. He did absolutely nothing for nobody that is considered black. And I had to go with Trump this go around. And I'd rather see something happen versus nothing happen. You said, I expect the black men to side with Trump, dumping his ish on the parents that are there, the moms. I hope that he doesn't do that. I really would hope that he goes and targets the fathers, because they're the ones that created this environment for their kids to be spawns of evil, running around doing the most behind what the men have allowed to have happen. And if the men are targeted, then we will see a change in the attitude. But now I want to get to what the Democrats had to say, because of course there are Democrats that are in opposition of the DC crime crackdown. And I did find a clip from Fox News. And there's kind of a little bit of debate going on with a state governor who did get grilled on the platform about it. So let's take a look at what he had to say. Again, in my opinion, a lot of them are hopeful that we get pulled in with the rhetoric of he's trying to be a dictator, he's a racist, he's targeting black people to try to get us outside and protest and put our bodies out there, which would only help the immigrants. And I'm not trying to go help any illegal or immigrant out. I say let Trump do his job. I say let him get rid of some of those people that have been plaguing our communities for decades. Why not? But I like to see a little bit of opposition, just so that you know what they're trying to say. Again, it's all about propaganda, and it's about fear mongering in hopes to get black Americans scared. Oh, whoa, the boogeyman has come to the community to try to clean it up. I should be very fearful, because I'm doing what? If you're not doing anything, what are you afraid of? You just stay out the way. You just stay in your house. You just, make sure that what you're doing is not something that they can come and target you over. Then you should be okay.
Let's bring in Maryland Governor Wes Moore to the program. Good morning, Governor. Thanks so much for joining the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, Governor, I'm so glad you decided to come on the program. I know you care about your community, and I care about mine as well. And I'm hoping that we can get to some resolutions on how we can come together to make this happen. I want to bring you to one of your cities in your state, and you're a neighbor to Washington, D.C. We know the actions that the president is taking right now. When you look at the numbers right now, the most dangerous cities list, Baltimore is on number 4 of that. And when it comes to the murders, it's number 3. Now, I know you have been surging resources to Baltimore, investing in the police there, but you don't like the actions that the president is taking right now. Why?
Well, when I came in, I said that the number one priority that we had as administration was to make sure that our communities were safe. Before I became governor, for the 8 years before I became the governor, Baltimore City went 8 straight years of 300 plus homicides. The year before I became the governor, Baltimore City averaged about a homicide a day. And I said, I refuse to be a governor who's going to spend my time offering eulogies and giving thoughts and prayers, that we actually need to have resources and coordination that was going to help to fundamentally address the problem. As people of my state have learned, I don't come from a political background. My background is I'm a soldier. And so what we did was we made historic investments in local law enforcement, that we invested over $15 million in the Baltimore City Police Department alone, that we made historic investments in technologies and predictive analytics, and saying if someone commits a violent crime, particularly with a firearm, I want them in handcuffs in 24 hours. And saying that we made historic investments in our community groups, working with the mayor, working with our county executives, working with the community groups and our violence intervention and violence interruption groups, to making sure we can stop crime before it happens and making sure we don't have this retaliatory cycle of violence. And while I know that we still have more work to do, I also know this, is that despite the fact that the year before I became the governor, Baltimore City, again, had a historic streak in violence, that now that the last time the homicide rate was this low in Baltimore City, I was not born yet. So we're making real progress, where Maryland is now amongst the fastest dropping states in this country on violent crime. There's ways you can do this, and you have to be able to make sure you're using the right tool to get to the right results.
Mr. Governor, you're right, y'all have made progress, but there's still some issues there. And this is a resident, and this is what they said in the Baltimore Sun. A 77-year-old woman from Curtis Bay who asked to remain anonymous due to threat levels she's received from drug dealers on her block compared the morning drug traffic to a fast food drive-thru. When a real estate agent assessed her property about a month ago and a half, she said that the agent told her he can't sell this house with that, referring to the 10 or 12 people involved in the drug market, loitering across the street. I'm going to get hurt one day. I know I am, she said. But the mayor responded this way, Governor.
I'm sure you read the article in the Baltimore Sun yesterday talking about how so many Baltimore residents don't recognize their neighborhoods anymore. What do you say to those residents of Baltimore who may think that citing falling crime statistics glosses over some of the harsher day-to-day realities and needs that they have to their lives in Baltimore, need for things to change even further in terms of just regular drug trafficking?
Yeah, so we're only having that discussion because the president is having that discussion. And I want to be very clear. I didn't read the Baltimore Sun article. I don't read it because they are a part of the president's propaganda machine.
So, Mr. Governor,
So, in other words, the Democrats are in complete denial of what is really going on in the community, and they really don't care because they have an agenda to be all about immigrants. As you said, your granddaddy nurse, just a few weeks ago, this guy was protesting about the illegals, and that's what their whole stick is. They're only about the illegals. They don't care about the American people. They don't care about our neighborhoods for real. They don't care about what happens to black people for real, even though they so-called represent in blackface. In actuality, they really don't care. And this is what comes out time and time again. In fact, after this, I'm going to show Karen Bass because she had some type of blow up behind what ICE has recently been doing. And also the Governor Gavin was surprised by ICE showing up at one of his, I guess he has some type of function, or he was trying to raise money or talk about what to do about Trump. And ICE showed up outside what was going on. And the Democrats really don't see the severity of what is going on for real, because they're only looking at what they can do to help and assist the people that are coming over here illegally. And this is why the Democrats are not working out for Black Americans. This is why droves and droves of us are leaving the Democratic Party. And now we're looking at the Republicans or the conservative thought thinkers about what they're talking on, because the Democrats have failed us. They continually fail us. They let us down. They only use our story and our history to bolster illegals and immigrants' agenda. And we're tired of being used up like that. So for those that are confused on why I am not a Democrat, it's because they're not really on our side. They really don't care about what's most important. And what is most important is stopping the incredible bad behavior that is allowed to be fostered in the community. And then it grips our community, and it allows these swamp monsters just to run free and clear of accountability, and they just carry destruction with them, and they destroy wherever they go. And these Democrats are totally in denial. They really don't care about nothing pertaining to safety.
People go back and forth and the politics and Donald Trump and all this, but this is what the locals are saying. This is not some partisan thing.
Well, I mean, my heart breaks for that woman in Curtis Bay. And it breaks for anyone who does not feel safe in their own neighborhoods and in their own communities anywhere in the state of Maryland. And I think the people of the state of Maryland know and have seen through our actions that the number one priority that we have is making sure that people can feel safe in their own neighborhoods, in their own communities, and in their own skin. That we're making sure that people who commit crimes, that they are held accountable for the crimes that they commit, but also that we're improving better systems that are making sure that they are also accountable to actually focusing on rehabilitation and helping people get back into the community with a real pathway for long-term success. And so whether it's a person in Curtis Bay or whether it's a person in Catonsville, they know that their governor is prioritizing their safety.
Pardon my interruption, Governor, but the people of DC feel the same way. The people of Philly feel the same way. I'm just curious why you've been so critical of the administration trying to solve this problem. Is it the process that you don't like? Because it looks like they're doing the same thing that you're doing, which is surging resources to the city.
It's because I'm proud to be the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland, and I'm honored to be the commander-in-chief of the Maryland National Guard. I stand with the remarkable men and women who have raised their hand, these citizen soldiers, who frankly are trained to fight and win our nation's wars. The people who, in times of emergency and in times of crisis, that I have the unique authority and the unique ability to mobilize them, and where I have done so as the governor of the state of Maryland, whether it is historic floods that we've seen in Western Maryland, or whether it's the fact that I still currently, right now, have men and women who are deployed overseas doing operations. This is something that I take very seriously, particularly as someone who's worn the uniform, particularly as someone who's had to say goodbye to my family, particularly as someone who has had to trust the judgment of the commander-in-chief, knowing that the decision that they made was one that had not just the best interest of the national security in mind, but the best interest of me and my family. And so all I'm saying is
all Democrats are good for is talking long-winded and acting like they care. But in actuality, when you really look at the whole picture, you see that they're just bullshitting. They're bullshitting us. They're lying to us. The truth is in the pudding. Here is a small clip of a YN running in the ops house. Look at this. Hold on.
She gonna die.
couldn't get him done. So it's blood running in his house.
Who was shooting in the house? I know. I swear to God.
You weren't gonna switch?
On my life. Oh, she gonna die.
So an ops just rolled by and shot in the house, and you see a neighbor that's taking the video of what happens all the time. People, drive by and just shoot through your front door or your front window and just kill you. In fact, I was watching First 48 earlier today, and there was a guy that had a son that got shot in the face, and he retaliated by going to the teenager's house and honked the horn. And when somebody answered the door and looked outside to see who was honking, that person shot and killed the mother of the teen that shot his teenager in the face. I mean, it's an unending cycle. And I just really dread being in these environments, in these neighborhoods. I don't want to know anybody from these types of neighborhoods because it's all going to end bad. And the Democrats just make it seem like rehabilitation is really possible when they know full well that most of these kids have been doing all these crimes at a very, very young age. And there's really at this point, no rehabilitation that's really possible. They're damaged goods. The only thing that you could do is put them away somewhere where they can't harm nobody, because there's just too many cases to show, that this is really going on. Now, I'm going to show this last video just to conclude what I'm saying. There was recently, just 3 weeks ago, a Florida teen who happened to get 3 life sentences for a triple teen murder. A triple teen murder. So this is not a figment of imagination. There are a lot of people that is running around uncontrolled, unstable, very mental and crazed, and they need to be handled with a firm hand. And unfortunately, if that firm hand is attached to putting them in jail or wherever, then that's what it has to be. But this is just a prime example of why I am on the side of what Trump is doing.
Plus, want to get you back inside the courtroom in Marion County, where the sentencing hearing for Taj Bruton is underway. That's his defense attorney speaking now. We just heard from prosecutors arguing why they believe he should be sentenced to life in prison. Let's go ahead and listen in to his defense attorney.
Brain, as Dr. Crawford indicated, and the nature of these crimes. And like I said, there's nothing good about these crimes. But we still have to look to the mitigation, and the mitigation that is applied in these cases is what Dr. Crawford indicated. Because of the diminished ability of the juvenile brain to function as an adult brain, they're given special dispensation based on the studies of the law. So we're requesting that the court take cognizance of the case law, the facts, the studies, the testimony of Dr. Prop, and the fact that my client did accept responsibility. He did follow the plea deal. He did make the proffer. He did help the state, and got us to this point today. We're requesting that the court sentence Mr. Bruton to the same sentence as Mr. Atkins to keep consistency for the same crimes.
And just briefly, in fairness, it is true he did enter a plea. I would know he gave a proffer, although frankly it's inconsistent with the evidence. But he does not stand before you in the same position as Christopher Atkins, because Mr. Atkins was only convicted of 1 first-degree murder. And to suggest that this defendant deserves the same sentence would almost suggest that he gets 2 free murders, because one person who's a juvenile commits a murder and gets 40 years. So we're going to give somebody who's convicted of 3 murders the same sentence. That they don't stand on the same. They're not the same. They're not the same defendant. You have to treat them differently because they are in fact different. The facts are different. Circumstances are different. Their ages are different. Their behaviors are different. Their criminal histories are different. Everything about this case is different. And life is an appropriate sentence because of the dangerous actions that he committed.
All right. And Judge, in response to that, of course, Mr. Atkins got the benefit of the state attorney saying, We'll choose you, and that's the only difference.
I need no further argument. I would point out one significant difference between Mr. Atkins and Mr. Britton is that Mr. Atkins was 12 years old at the time of the offense. Mr. Britton was not. As I said yesterday, my job is to find a fair sentence which takes into account the victims of the offense, their families, and the defendant, and all the actions that he committed. I would remind everybody that a certain portion of my sentence is ruled by statute. That statute ultimately comes from the United States Supreme Court, which has laid out the only legal way for juveniles to be sentenced. They have excluded juveniles from the death penalty. They have excluded juveniles from getting a sentence of life imprisonment with no possibility of release. So that comes to us from the United States Supreme Court, and I must follow that law. If I don't follow that law, the sentence will be immediately overturned. So I have no choice. That comes to us from the United States Supreme Court. However, certain aspects of the sentence are within my discretion, and those are the parts I'm acting on now. First of all, just as a minor thing, do you agree that the sentence points are 96.225, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So on the tampering of physical evidence, that's a third-degree felony. He could, other than a departure sentence, which I don't think is appropriate in this case, he would have to get 96.225 months on that case.
That is the lowest permissible sentence and the maximum for that charge, yes, Your Honor.
Sure. The other thing I want to mention is that for the same reasons I couldn't consider the victim impact of Layla and Michael yesterday, I certainly will consider it today because their cases are in front of the court today. They weren't in front of the court yesterday. In Florida Statute 921.1401, I've considered all aspects of that statute and all the criteria which are laid out in that statute. I've considered in Wade his age at the time of the offense, which was stated as 18 or 19. Now is the most important one. I think it was 16. Is that correct?
Yes, you are.
That's my understanding of it. I weighed his maturity. I weighed his background, his intellectual capacity. I considered the background information from the pre-sentence investigation that was compiled for the robbery case, which would be the same background information for this case. I weighed all the evidence that's been presented by the defense, including Dr. Kropp's evidence. I weighed all the arguments that have been contained by both. But I've also weighed the circumstances of these offenses. And the defendant's participation in these offenses, which is also a part of the 921 statute. Without going into great length and having to recap all that has been said here, the overwhelming thing is that he orchestrated the death of 3 juveniles without any pretense or any justification in any sense whatsoever. He did that at the time after cutting off his electronic monitor for a juvenile offense for offensive carjacking. He did this offense within a couple of months of being placed on the electronic monitor. I just find that the seriousness and the heinousness of these offenses outweigh any mitigation that's been placed in front of the court. For the homicide offenses, there's really only one sentence that is appropriate in the case. And that sentence that he shall receive is a life sentence for each of his homicide offenses. I want to go down each of them individually so that can be made clear.
So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you get my gist that, it's a terrible thing to weigh how much time to give teens. But when teens do heinous crimes taking the life of 3 teenagers, a triple teen murder. I mean, what type of leniency are you thinking you're supposed to get? I don't feel bad for these young men doing time forever, maybe not seeing the light of day, because again, it all stems from their lack of father in the household, lack of mothers that are not providing other substitute male figures to help support her in creating a better environment or future for these young teenagers. They just left them out to dry and allowed them to do whatever they desire to do. And then people want to feel sorry for them after they murder. I mean, how does that work out? That doesn't really fly anymore. And just because I happen to be a Black American and they are Black doesn't mean that I'm going to be sympathetic to them, because I'm sympathetic to the people that have lost their life, how they affected so many other people behind their crimes. Just as I was speaking or showcasing that video, rather, there was just a recent video just 6 hours ago where it showed a man was assaulting a woman. He shoots her, passerby who tried to intervene in historic LA neighborhood. This just shows you how often these types of things can happen with, people getting upset about being supposedly disrespected or rejected, and how things escalate so quickly. And people just have guns just to provide revenge for how they feel being rejected or whatever. Look at this.
And more breaking news this morning. A double shooting in Harvard Heights leaves one person dead and another injured. Police say the suspect was attacking a woman when another man tried to intervene to help, and that's when the suspect, they say, shot them both before taking off. KTLA's Omar Lewis live in Harvard Heights, where we're just learning some new breaking developments. Omar.
Lauren, Megan, we can tell you we just received an update from officers out here who tell us that the suspect is no longer on the run and committed suicide right here on the same street where the original shooting occurred. You're taking a live look where that shooting unfolded here on St. Andrew's Place in LA's Harvard Heights neighborhood. You can see several officers remain out here on the scene at this hour. The LAPD says this all started when a woman was assaulted and then later shot and killed by that suspect. A passerby, a Good Samaritan who tried to intervene, was also gunned down. We can show you the video from this chaotic scene that unfolded just after 10:30 last night. Witnesses say an unidentified man was seen attacking a woman outside an LA apartment complex here on St. Andrew's Place near Pico Boulevard. But what began as a cry for help from that woman being assaulted ended in tragedy here. The woman screamed for help, drawing the attention of a family driving by. The father stepped out to intervene, but the attacker pulled a gun, firing into the family's SUV before shooting that Good Samaritan. Moments later, he turned the weapon on the woman he had been assaulting. Video shows paramedics performing CPR on that woman here at the scene. She was rushed to the hospital but did not survive. The father was also transported with a gunshot wound but remains in stable condition, according to the last update that we received. A bullet hole.
And what's so sad is that, people say get involved, help out a woman in trouble. And these days, if you do, you might lose your life. You might lose your life for intervening. Luckily, the guy, he survived, or at least right now, as the story is holding, he's okay. But he could have lost his life. The woman lost her life. And I don't know what could have happened to cause him, this other dude, the suspect, to assault the woman. It didn't say that if they were dating or anything like that. Maybe we'll get more information. But he didn't have to go to the level that he took it to. But it's because people are so brazen about being as diabolical as they can get. And, I just think the atmosphere is so laxed to where Trump had to step in and make a change. And this is why I am so for all the different things that he's going to do in these communities that have and harbor these type of bad behavior teenagers or men and women who are out here doing the most, not held to some type of accountability. Now they're going to be held to accountability. So as we speak, I think the first night that Washington was declared to be federalized, there were at least 45 arrests by the federal authorities overnight in Washington, D.C. 45 the first night. And I'm like, how many lives out of that 45 did Trump actually help and assist? You never know. But let's take a look at this real quick to see that what he's doing is working. I guess they're supposed to have this go on for about 30 days initially in Washington, D.C. And then he made mention that he was going to bring it to New York and Baltimore, Oakland, Chicago, and other places where high crime is at. And maybe Washington, D.C. is just kind of like the tester of what's to come. But like I said, I don't have nothing to fear. I'm not a criminal. I'm not going around killing folks. I'm not selling drugs. I'm not doing any of that. So why would I have fear in my heart? I wouldn't have no fear in my heart, and I don't have fear.
Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Let me welcome you to The Takeout. I have lived in Washington, D.C. since 1991. I remember that first year in this city very well. For my career, it was nonstop exhilaration. As a resident, however, there was a different kind of rush. It came from a gnawing fear of violence. 504 people were murdered in Washington, D.C. that year, 1991. It was the highest rate ever. And for context, the murder rate in the nation's capital hovered for years around 400, and it didn't fall below 300 per year until 1998. The number of murders in D.C. in 2024, according to statistics cited by the Trump White House this week, was 186. To review, my first year in D.C. in 1991, 504 murders. Last year, 186. And we are now led to believe, in President Trump's words, that crime in D.C. right now is worse than it's ever been. When I moved to D.C. in 1991, there were straight-up no-go zones, places where cabs, remember, this was before Uber and Lyft, simply would not travel, not at any price. The city existed in a kind of numb terror. It functioned. People shopped, went to work, played in parks, but uneasily. Fast forward to last year. When this show was still America Decides, I was absent for 5 weeks. I served for 5 weeks on a D.C. criminal grand jury, reviewed evidence in cases for possible prosecution. Victims sat feet away from me in that grand jury room, trembling in fear from what they had been through: robberies, muggings, carjackings, shootings, and worse. I stared into the haunted eyes of crime victims in this city. Statistics about crime trajectories, up or down, are meaningless to an individual victim. The victim shudders over what happened to them, not whether that crime is on an up or down annual arrow. But statistics are important to a society, to a government seeking proportionality and assessing priorities, where to focus, what to do.
Well, it seems that he's leaning to make it seem like that Trump is doing too much for what he's trying to do. And I thought he was going to talk about the 45 arrested, and he's not talking about that. So this is not the video that I thought it would be. I mean, he can have his opinion and say the statistics don't show that he should be doing what he's doing. But at what point do you feel like something needs to be done? And I think that a lot of people just love to make up excuses for what the crime level is like right now. And I just want to see things change for the better. And if it's going to be stamping out some of the crime and getting a lot of people off the streets and making America more safe, then that's what we need to do and support. You know, so many cases you can just thumb through on this platform. This last video, this is a teen in custody, another teen in custody after 2 rideshare drivers were carjacked 1 day apart, y'all. So this is not, it's escalating, y'all. And the teens are not feeling like they have anything to fear. And I think that if they get stiff punishment, maybe it would deter others from wanting to join in the festivities of crime. It has to.
Now in the city, a 16-year-old is in custody. He's been busted 2 nights in a row, police say, for leading officers on chases. And both times, they tell us he was driving a stolen car that was taken from a rideshare driver at gunpoint. This latest carjacking happened around 2 this morning in North City near Carter and Newstead. And the carjacking the night before occurred north of there around Newstead and Carter. First Alert 4 Shoshana Stahl has been following this story for us. And Shoshana, even police say they're getting frustrated at the criminal justice system. Lauren, they are, and at this hour, police tell me they're looking for the other kids involved in this latest carjacking. They ran from police this morning. Today's crime happened around 2 a.m., and that's well after curfew for teens. Police say they're looking into potentially citing the parents, but after 2 nights in a row of being targeted, rideshare drivers say this just reinforces their safety concerns.
Nothing's going to change when there are 0 consequences.
Rideshare driver David Woods is frustrated and disheartened to hear another driver was held at gunpoint by teens and then carjacked.
Even though you're a kid, your actions still have very, very real consequences.
St. Louis police say around 2 a.m. Thursday, a Lyft driver picked up several teens at North Newstead and Carter in North City. While driving, one of the passengers held a gun to the driver and demanded he get out of the car. At some point, the car was found and police started chasing. The 16-year-old driver taken into custody and remains there. Police say the kid is the same driver from the carjacking of an Uber driver turned police pursuit Tuesday night.
If they are committing the crimes at 16, who knows what they will be doing at 26 if they make it to 26.
These 2 crimes happening only a mile apart from each other. The 4 juveniles involved in the first carjacking were released to their guardians.
I think they're frustrated for the victims who don't have to be victims. There was a 36-year-old man last night that did not have to have a gun put to the back of his head. Our officers see this. They see it, they feel the pain, they feel the trauma that a victim goes through, and they see how easily preventable it could have been.
In Missouri, there's a point system to charge juveniles and a certain amount of points needed to be held on that crime.
The SLMPD would support if somebody takes a good look and review of the entire juvenile point system that is in place, because these are kids committing very dangerous crimes that is going to kill someone.
Why didn't, when you released him out to his parents after just committing a violent crime, carjacking somebody, shooting at somebody, why didn't you just give him a cookie too and just, you know, there you go, slap on the hand, don't do it no more.
Like I said, police are still looking for the other teens who were part of the carjacking of the Lyft driver earlier this morning. That includes going through body camera footage and dash camera footage to look at the teens who were arrested the day prior for that same crime against an Uber driver. In the newsroom, Shoshana Stahl.
So as you can hear, things don't look like they're going to get any better unless you put force behind it. Unfortunately, that has to be the route in which needs to happen, because too many people are finding it very glorious to be partakers of murders and carjackings and robberies, whatever they desire to do. You know, so I for the ones that are not in agreement with Trump, I think that you're a fool. I think that if it happens to your family, you're going to be speaking a different type of tone. You know, why do you have to wait always until something terrible happens to yourself or your family before you have a understanding of what is going on? I wish that we weren't so silly in thinking that, you know, everything is fine until it's too late. There is a DC crime victim's sister who asked why Trump and the feds didn't care earlier. So she's saying that this should have been the action a long time ago versus not having action at all.
With the Trump administration now vowing to crack down on crime here in the district in light of last week's assault on a former Doge staffer, Nazia Israel says for her it brings mixed emotions.
It comes at their front door, and now you want to do something about it.
2 years ago, her brother Reggie was brutally beaten to death on Georgia Avenue by 5 girls, ages 12 to 15. Reggie was battling cancer and weighed just 110 pounds. Social media messages by the girls revealed during the trial for Brown's murder said they did it because they were bored.
Where were you politicians? Where were you, where were the president? Where were you people at when all these people here in D.C., all these mothers, children been killed in the streets by juveniles, being carjacked by juveniles?
The 5 girls who attacked Reggie Brown were all tried and found responsible as juveniles. Currently under DC law, juvenile offenders can only be held until they're 21, so the girls will all get out within the next few years. Israel says she wants DC crime penalties to be tougher so that juveniles who commit murder can be held for life. But at the same time, she also worries about the increase in federal law enforcement and the possibility of police brutality.
It's just a little too much. You just need to change the laws. You don't need more people coming in killing.
But grandfather Bernard Brown tells us he's happy about the idea of a bigger federal police presence.
The mayor seems not to have enough control of the activities that are arising.
His 3-year-old granddaughter, Taya Settles, was shot and killed last year while riding in her family's car in Garfield Heights. The case still hasn't been solved. DC police and the FBI are both offering rewards for information. Brown says he doesn't want to see DC police federalized in the long term, but for now, he agrees they need help from outside agencies.
I don't like the idea of the takeover, but I like the idea of getting some structure.
He also believes more mental health services are crucial for addressing violence, as crime in the district continues to be in the national spotlight. Amy Cho, News 4.
So I guess it really depends on if you or your loved one could or have been affected, where some of us could really see it as a positive to having Washington, D.C. federalized. But like I say, there's just way too many cases that I could show back to back to back. So many people with so many violent tendencies. And a lot of these teens feel untouchable because of how the laws have been stacked up on account of them being young. And they feel like, you know, they can get out at 21 and have a clean slate. And a lot of them will not be corrected, and they will be advanced in their criminality, and they will be worse than ever when they get out at the age of 21. So like I say, it's necessary, like the guy said, to provide structure, because obviously there's no structure in the community that can safeguard what is happening with these kids. Let me see what you guys have to say in the chat room. And I just want those to know who have been looking for me, maybe, that this will be the channel that I'll be on from now on. My other channel, unfortunately, I have not been able to find my passcode to operate it. So this will be the new channel for now until I figure it out. So please, if you have not yet hit the like button, I don't know what it is that I have a lot of people that will watch, but they won't hit the like button. And I'm only trying to improve. my community as I can with information to help others to understand, the vantage point of a Black American who is on the side of what Trump is doing in this instance because of the criminality that's in our community and how it has harmed us in such a way to paralyze us from being able to live and breathe and be free in our own community behind having these type of crimes and terrorists among us. And so something major had to happen, and now it's happening. And I am elated that it is happening because maybe it will scare a lot of the other teenagers straight. Maybe they will see prime examples of others that have went down the wrong path, and they will decide that this is not for me. I'm not going down that road. I'm going to straighten up. I'm going to get my life right. Something had to give. Let me see what you're saying in the chat. Yeah, deleted 3 kids over nothing, your granddaddy nurse. That's crazy. Your granddaddy nurse says, how can he be rehabilitated after doing a crime like that? I mean, he's young, yes, but that's a horrific crime. I don't think he will be after being in prison, because by the time those inmates get a hold of him, they're going to turn him out, and he's going to be a lot worse getting out of prison or wherever they have him held. You said there are so troubled people out here, so many troubled people out here, and sadly we haven't seen anything yet. No, and you never will. I mean, for practice, I would suggest, especially women, to look up different cases just to kind of give you an idea of how crazy it is out here. Sometimes I watch First 48 a lot just to kind of remind me over how crazy society has grown, how men can be so treacherous or vengeful, retaliatory, or whatever the hell it is, so that you understand the psychology of some of the crimes that's being played out in front of our faces, to kind of understand and be in the know instead of being in the dark and clueless. You have to kind of like brush up on these type of crimes so that you can understand how bad and depraved a lot of people are in their mind and heart. You said my old neighborhood. That was your old neighborhood? Oh, wow. That's crazy. And you said, facts, I lost a first cousin like that over a female. See, that's what I'm talking about. And when you hear of domestic violence, when boyfriends and girlfriends are fighting, that is like one of the most dangerous time to be around, because anything could pop off. You never know. And like I said, if you don't have a deterrent, if people are not shown something that's going to happen as a consequence, people are going to just keep keeping on with their bad behavior and just act a fool wherever they go. Edek says, I saw the mayor of Baltimore on Al Sharpton's show literally lying about crime is down in his city, while slams Pontius Trump for sending in the National Guard protecting DC citizens. They're a mess. Edek, thank you for being here. I'm glad you found me. I don't have no respect for none of these Democrats at all. Did you guys see recently what Karen Bass had to say about ICE coming to the neighborhood? Let me play that real quick before I forget. Karen Bass was acting a fool over the ICE showing up, and she showed her ass off. Let me show this video real quick. She was mad, but I have never seen this woman get mad about what happens in our community. I have never seen anyone have a care in the world to give when it comes to what happens in our community. But she's busting a vein almost in her voice and her throat over trying to protect these illegals. And this is why we have a problem with the Democrats, because they have nowhere to hide. They have nowhere to hide, and everything that they do is being showcased.
The governor is inside having a press conference. There was no reason in the world for them to come here. They came here in all of their cars to do what? To take somebody who was driving a car and then denying that they took anybody at all? This is a complete provocation. This has nothing to do with safety. In fact, this is the exact opposite of keeping our city safe. We do not need them here, and they have no business to come here and provoke this.
Mayor Bass, you're live on NBC4 right now. You do not believe that this just happened to be a coincidence?
There is no way this was a coincidence. This was widely publicized that the governor and many of our other elected officials were having a press conference here to talk about redistricting, and they decided they were going to come and thumb their nose in front of the governor's face. Why would you do that? That is unbelievably disrespectful. It's a provocative act. They're talking about disorder in Los Angeles, and they are the source of the disorder in Los Angeles right now. This is just completely unacceptable. This is a administration, this is a Customs and Border Patrol that has gone amok. This absolutely has to stop. There was no danger here. There was no need to detain anyone here. And there was certainly no need to have a provocative act right here where the governor is having a press conference.
Again, they don't give a darn for the American people. They just don't give a damn at all. I would hope that all the Black Americans would see the Democrats for what they are. I pray that you guys get the strength to see the truth. And the Democrats are really not for us. They just want to use our vote and use our name towards other agendas. And it's time and time again, the Democrats are failures. That's what they are. And I'm so glad that they are being more and more exposed. So anyways, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on how I feel about the takeover in DC. I really feel that Trump is doing a good thing with getting the riffraff out of the Black community. And I know that a lot of people want to twist it around to make it seem like he is a racist. He's coming for Black people. He's not coming for normal Black people. If you ain't a part of a crime, if you are not unaliving people, raping people, robbing people, and all that thing, you don't have nothing to worry about. It's for those that do, that have plenty to worry about, because they're coming for your ass. And if you are out here caught slipping, you're going to get caught up in a major way and maybe not see the light of day, depending upon what you were attempting to do or what you have done. And you will have earned whatever you have gotten. President Trump's not playing with your ass. And I am not going to be trying to make him the villain, as Democrats attempt to do. These things need to have happened because our society is losing it right now. Just imagine if Kamala Harris was president right now. My God, so many illegals would be here. So much spending for all these illegals would be here, and crimes galore would be all over the place. No accountability whatsoever. I'd rather have Trump than not have no help at all. That's the bottom line. All these teenagers that I showcase in this video, there's hundreds of more, or thousands of more of them like that. There's plenty of them that are just waiting to be dispatched onto the community at large. And I'm not feeling sorry for them. I don't care if they have a baby face. I don't care how they were raised. I have a sad story to sing about how I was raised. Okay, if you want to be frank about it, I was raised in foster care. I was raised in a children's home. I didn't go out here and murder people, rape people, rob people. So I'm not going to give that excuse to them. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it. You know, it's up to the women, I would say, to please be very careful who you give your body to, because if those men don't want to be responsible for the kids that they help produce, you might find yourself in the situation where all these other teenage mothers are finding themselves in, you know, going to court and seeing their little teenager be given a 40-year sentence or more. It's just not worth it. And I hope that Trump gets wind of what I'm saying about maybe getting after these fathers that have abandoned their responsibility and somehow get them caught up in the system, or penalties, or charging them for something to make them not feel effortless about doing what they're doing. Because it's not fair that they can go and create a seed of destruction in our community, and all of us have to bear the weight of it while they're just off clear and free with no responsibility, no accountability, no consequence. That has to change. In my opinion, Trump needs to go after those fathers. Now, I understand that the mothers are at fault for not maybe finding an uncle or granddad or a brother or somebody to assist their children, but they are bearing the weight of what the father has left them. And I think somehow that these fathers should be held accountable to atone for some of this craziness that's going on in our society. They should not be allowed to just be free willy-nilly and clear of everything while we all as a community suffer. That's not fair. So that's how I feel, and I don't care if y'all don't like it. Oh well. Let me see what you guys have to say in the chat room, and I'm going to conclude this live. All right. You said I wouldn't be surprised if they come down south. It's coming. Wow, I hope not, but I won't be surprised either. You said that lady has to ask why the previous administration didn't do something prior to Trump being in office. I know that's sad, isn't it? You said, I hate what happened to her brother, but DMV, Baltimore crime has been horrible for years. I would never want to go to Baltimore. I would never want to go to Oakland. I would never want to go to any of these places that are known for just all this stupid stuff that you see in the news. I mean, it's embarrassing, really, to be frank. You said, why didn't she say something or do something before her family were victims? You know, everybody gets 20/20 hindsight vision after the fact, you know, but we have to be present today, you know, on what's going on. You said people want help the way they want it, not the way it's needed. Exactly, Pinky. That's bingo. They think that they can make things convenient. But you know, to take the cancer out of something, you got to be very strategic. You got to be very calculating and all the other things to deal with cancers. And unfortunately, these teenage criminals and all these other crimes that are being committed, we got to deal with it like it's a cancer. We really do. You said, please like the live. Let's push it into the algorithm. Yes, please hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. If y'all could, please do so. And please also subscribe to the channel. That would be great. You said, come visit today at USA Docs, aka the Only Americans. Okay. And your granddaddy says, Pinky, well, okay, cool. Will you do? Or are they on here on YouTube? Okay. Yes, I watched First 48 Pinky religiously. I was just watching it yesterday. I was like going through a binge of watching First 48, and I couldn't believe some of the crimes that I saw. It's so stupid. You know, $20 for this, and, you know, somebody got their feelings hurt for that, or embarrassed this way or something. It's just really crazy out here. Call 911. Don't try to help. They will both turn on you. Exactly. All you can do If you see a crime happening, is get on your phone and get out the way where they can't even see you, and make the call and just say there's something about to happen on this street. This man is attacking this woman or whatever, and get out the way. Don't put your body in the middle of it, because these people are crazy. They will take you out too. You said, remember Karen Bass is half Mexican? Oh, okay. And your granddaddy says, yes, she's a tool too. A lot of them getting indicted, though. The mayor of New Orleans has numerous indictments now. And that Eliam, the one that married her brother, on the hot seat too, as they should. I'm glad they are. Like I say, I want Trump to get rid of these Democrats. I heard that what's that one lady's name? She was recently Jasmine Crockett. I heard that she's losing her seat or something because the redistricting seats that they're having going on, and she's probably going to lose her seat. And I'm glad. She is worthless when it comes to black folks. So she was kicked out of Congress, and that needed to happen. Let's see what she has to say while we're speaking about her. But yeah, the Democrats have been useless to us. And if he gets rid of all of them, if they end up with charges for all the things that they have done, I heard that Karen Bass had taken money from the Chinese. So they're no good. But here is a little bit. Let me see what she has to say real quick before I go.
Welcome back. Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett telling CBS News Texas Today that she is considering running in a different district than the one she's currently serving. That comes, of course, as Texas Republicans are doing the big push here through congressional map changes. ION Politics reporter Jack Fink found out why during an interview you had this afternoon with the Congresswoman. Live from Dallas, give us an update on what that conversation was about today.
Well, Doug, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett accuses Republicans of intentionally drawing her home out of her district, District 30, under these newly proposed congressional maps. And as a result, she says she's now considering running in the newly drawn 33rd congressional district, where her home will be if these new maps are approved by Texas Republicans.
I'm debating about whether or not I will run where they put me, which is where I live. Yeah.
In 33.
In 33.
Congresswoman Crockett has served in the 30th congressional seat since January 2023, and her district is mostly in Dallas County, but also has some in Tarrant County. While the boundaries of her district would change, it's still considered a Democratic majority seat and will have a majority of African Americans. Here's where it gets tricky. The current 33rd congressional district is served by Democrat Mark Vesey and is in both Tarrant and Dallas counties. Under the proposed new map of the 33rd district, it would only be in Dallas County and include Congresswoman Crockett's home. Congressman Vesey lives in Tarrant County, and he would not live in this district if it's approved. This will become a Hispanic majority district and will remain a majority for Democrats as well. And while Democratic Congresswoman Julie Johnson serves in the current 32nd congressional district, which includes Dallas County, under the newly drawn 32nd congressional district, she would also not live there, and also it would become a Republican majority district because it will stretch out to East Texas. Congresswoman Crockett told me today she does not want to move from her home. Members of Congress are not required to live in their districts. They only have to be a resident in the state in which they serve. Crockett said she wants to have a conversation with her current constituents and her Democratic colleagues in Congress about the situation they face.
Does Mark Vesey fit better into 30 now because it does have some Tarrant or not? And does Julie just kind of fit better at running in 33 than me? And is my district going to be okay with me running and being on this fixed government income and therefore not buying a home in the newly constructed 30? Obviously, I don't have to live there under federal rules.
Right.
But, I mean, some people want somebody that lives in the district. And then, obviously, I want to talk to my colleagues and say what kind of makes sense so that at least, hopefully, two of us have the best shot at going back.
I could care less about Jasmine Crockett. They're all traitors in my mind. They are all shills, and they're all for illegals and everybody else but Americans. So, I think it's a good thing that she is being more humbler. I hope that she does not find a new seat to be in, because in my mind they're all worthless. They serve no purpose. So I could care less about any of them. I just hope that they all get dashed away as quick as possible. I don't care. Let me see. Oh yeah, that Ilian, she's in deep water. I think that they're threatening to deport her. Let me see if I can find something of her before I go. She's been doing the most and talking reckless. And I heard that like you said, she's married to her brother. I don't know what in the world they're into, but hustling the system. In other words, that's all they do. All these immigrants come over here and they hustle the system. And then they talk up and brag about how much better they're doing when they're scamming the system. That's all they keep continuing to do. Let me see. Where is she at? Deported? Yeah, they've been talking about possibly having her deported. I was trying to find a recent video talking about her, but she's in trouble though. They got their eyes on her, that's for sure. Pam Bondi. Let me see what she has to say. But yeah, people like this lady Ilhan Omar, they only serve themselves and their family and their tribe. They don't look towards Americans as anything in particular. They look at us as being enemies to them. They come over here to become our homegrown enemies.
Pam Bondi just dropped a political nuke, and now one of the most controversial figures in the Democrat Party may be facing deportation. Yes, you heard that right. A sitting radical Democrat could be kicked out of the country. The revelation came during an explosive segment last night where former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi unveiled a string of previously unseen documents that appear to directly connect this individual to a major immigration fraud case. The name at the center of this storm, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Now, before anyone panics or dismisses this as just another political attack, let's walk through what Pam Bondi exposed. Because the evidence is not just shocking, it could be damning. Bondi revealed immigration filings, school records, and marriage certificates that suggest Ilhan Omar may have committed perjury and immigration fraud by marrying her own biological brother to facilitate his entry into the United States. This rumor has swirled for years in conservative circles, but Bondi says what she uncovered now makes it impossible for federal agencies to ignore any longer. She stated, and I quote, "We now have concrete timelines, names, and a paper trail. If DHS and ICE don't act on this, it's a total failure of justice." The documents indicate that Ilhan Omar's legal husband, Ahmed Nur Said Elmi, may have been her brother. They married in 2009, and that same year, Elmi allegedly received immigration benefits through that marriage. In 2011, Omar and Elmi separated but did not legally divorce until 2017, right when she launched her congressional run. Convenient timing, you decide. So why is this coming out now? According to Bondi, it's because whistleblowers within DHS are stepping forward. These insiders are reportedly furious that previous administrations ignored this case due to political reasons. But now, with immigration reform being one of Trump's top 2025 priorities, they say the time for action is now. So what happens?
And I am not in the least bit upset about this woman who is a traitor, who should not even be running an office, not even a little bit. should be, deported. I want her ass gone. I want all of these illegals gone. I don't give a damn. They don't represent us and they don't give a damn about Americans. So I don't care. Let them go back and be humbled, since they have a lot to say about America all the damn time. They don't never want to talk about their home countries. They have all the smoke for America while being in America talking shit. Actually, I don't know if you guys heard, I just got news wind of this. There was a Chinese woman who cursed out ICE, and she might be getting deported. Let me see if I can find a quick video of that. Hold on, let me see. I'll play that real quick. Listen what this valedictorian slammed Trump in viral speech. And I think people are talking about maybe getting her up out of here.
At a time when education, free speech, and democracy itself is being threatened by the very institutions that claim to value it, and in a country that not only refuses to protect, but actively persecutes, scapegoats, and villainizes the indisputable backbone of immigrants who make America what it is. As a first-generation immigrant myself, and as a now citizen who has the privilege of not having to fear for my life every second of the day, and as a communication major of all things, preaching up here about the importance of using your education and using your voice. Excuse my language, but to that I say fuck ICE and the Trump administration. I say, go touch grass. Get a hobby. Find something, anything less embarrassing and pathetic to do with your life than going around on a psychotic power trip, terrorizing and tearing apart families of hardworking, law-abiding, tax-paying folks who want nothing more than to live their lives, to put food on the table, to feed their children the same way you do. Think on that. At a time when education...
Okay, so she had that to say, and it's being tossed around that maybe she should get deported. People that talk against the government, that are not really Americans, that come over here and bash our government and bash our president. I don't think that they're going to be tolerating that kind of stuff anymore. And I'm not going to lose no sleep if she gets the hell up out of America, because again, they show disdain for America, but they can't do that shit where she comes from. She couldn't go to China popping her mouth off like that. She would be unalived or in some type of labor camp. She couldn't do that. But everybody feels free to come over here to America and bite the hand that feeds you. Bite the hand that gives you privileges and freedom. And I really feel that that kind of attitude of entitlement that they did not earn, they just was given. Maybe some of those people need to be taken down a peg or two. So I'll try to follow up and see if she's going to get deported or whatever. But like I said, I'm not going to lose no sleep. I don't give a damn about none of these people that don't give a damn about us to begin with. Let me see. Where was I? Let me go back up. Let me see. Okay, I read that. You said they can take who they want, try and stop them. Pinky said. Your granddaddy nurse says it is probably disorder. Let the fine men and women of ICE do their jobs. That's what I'm talking about. If we didn't have people like that, just imagine how bad off America could become. You said climb, burn, all down here pandering hard for the Democratic running for governor after he was caught drunk using the N-word. Clyburn trying to smooth mess over. Really? Clyburn? Wow, I didn't hear about that. That's crazy. Let me put that in my phone and maybe look at that later. Clyburn. Again, for those that want to keep up with me, this will probably more than likely be the platform that I'll be using moving forward, unless I can remember my password to start, to keep my other channel going. I don't really know if I can remember it or not. I'm looking for it, but I haven't found it yet. Okay, and you said if Black Americans don't see by now the Dems don't care about them, something is terribly wrong. Unfortunately, though, you granddaddy nurse, there are a lot of Black Americans still under a spell. They really don't see the writing on the wall, and they don't really see how they've been used as crash dummies for everybody else but themselves. That's what I've been trying to showcase on this platform, why the Democrats should not be trusted. And basically they're treacherous to our plight. They care about everybody else but us, bottom line. And that's the truth. You said he will win, Pinky says. Your granddaddy nurse says, yes, we're trying. Well, some of us are trying. Some of the older folks love him. We voted for Marcel Dixon last election, but yes, come to South Carolina, North Carolina, too liberal. Trust me. Oh, that's sad. Pinky says, I was raised by a single mother starting at age 9. Wow. Really, Pinky? Wow. Okay. You granddaddy nurse says, when I was working in corrections, those juveniles would be on deletion watch because they realize they're never going home. It's sad to see, but can't be out here crashing out on folks. Shaking my head. That's really sad. I mean, I would have had some sympathy to give maybe 10 years ago, but after witnessing so many different crimes and these people with these attitudes, that doesn't make any sense at all. I cannot keep rocking with believing that these people can be reformed. They just come out worse. They come out more deadlier than when they went in. You said can't be worse than California. At least we have the numbers. They're here. We're less than 2.2 million more Asians. They're 5.7 million. Wow. Please hit the like button, you guys. I would greatly appreciate it. I guess I have a lot of haters just watching. That's unbelievable. Yes, her and her wig. Yes, she definitely got that. You said, Bobo, pale people care dangerous. What can be done about them? I don't know who. All right. Oh, wow. She's taking bribes too. Yeah, they do. The Democrats are trying to do the same thing out here. She looks frightened. Yeah, she definitely looked checked. She needs to be worrying about what she's been doing behind the scenes, though, because if Trump gets wind of Jasmine Crockett doing anything illegal, they definitely going to get her ass. Good thing we get to vote on it. I'm voting against it, Pinky says. East Texas, Jasmine will be out, Pinky says. And your granddaddy nurse says she knows she's going to lose that seat regardless of if she moves or not, although she isn't required to. It's over for her and her hair hat. Rumor was she was married to him to get him here. That's what they all do. That's what these illegals and these immigrants, they hustle the system to get an advantage in America. And I'm glad that Trump is nipping that. In fact, for those that don't know, I intend to write a letter to Trump about some of the scams that I've noticed with the usage of the African American term and how we need to somehow bury that term for good. so that we have a different name separate from immigrants so that they can't dip in and out of our identity, scamming the system and advancing over the Americans. For what? They need to have their own damn identity off of their own merit, separate from ours. They should not be dipping in and out of our shit. You said biggest care of Medicaid fraud in Minnesota history committed by some Somalian tethers. Yeah, I heard about that. Yes, there has been a case of Medicaid. Let me see if I can find that. Minnesota fraud, Somalian. I think it was something about housing. I think it was about housing. Somalia. Okay, let me see if it shows up. Okay, so this was about 12 days ago when this broke. But they have all kinds of ways in which to fraud the system. These illegals come over here and they just create out of nothing.
I had to compare
Hold
hundreds
on.
of travel sites at once. I like to do things myself.
Developer to return what could be more than $1 million in deposits for a new community that was never built.
Nalosha Development promised a path to home ownership for Somali families on nearly 40 acres of land just off I-35 in Lakeville.
Investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen's been following this story for more than a year now, and he's here with the questions that remain for those families.
And of course, the biggest question of all, will those families actually get their money back? We tried to ask that question of the developer today, now that a new ruling has effectively shut down his company and determined he violated consumer fraud protection laws.
The challenges facing our community are only getting worse.
For years, Abdulwali Abdullahi and his Nalosha development promoted this dream of a new community for Somali families in Lakeville. In reality, the land in question still looks like this, and now a judge says time has run out. In a default judgment against Nalosha, the court is ordering the company to pay back clients who handed over pre-reservation fees worth $25,000. The lawsuit filed by the Minnesota Attorney General said Nalosha collected more than $1 million from families, but has provided no answers about what happened to that money. When we rolled up to the Nalosha offices here in Eden Prairie, I spotted the owner, Abdulwali Abdullahi, standing right here loading up this U-Haul truck. But by the time we could stop our car and get out to try to talk to him, he was gone. After we found this eviction notice on the door to his office, Abdullahi texted me that he was not available to comment and asked us to leave the premises immediately. 5 investigates found he's also the target of lawsuits from individual clients still waiting on refunds. One calling out a false house project, and another writing, "I have been lied to constantly and given a bounce check." The judge in this case will now hold another hearing.
Again, they just, for some strange reason, is able to create out of nothing different scams in America. And I'm so glad that they're being called out. In fact, a Black American woman recently called out a fraud that was happening at the DMV, and she got fired for calling out what was going on under the table with illegals paying $200 to get a driver's license in Kentucky. And no test, no nothing. They just had the hookup in Kentucky. And a Black American woman who was a former clerk wrote a letter describing the scam. Once she was understanding what was going on, her name and her status as a former clerk, her information was used to help scam, unbeknownst to her. And this is what I mean about why we need to get these immigrants under control, because they've been doing way too much for too long. And I'm so glad that a lot of this information is coming out. Hold on, let me start this over again. Hit the like button, you guys. I don't know why you guys are so shy.
The state didn't want this out. Fraud inside Kentucky's transportation cabinet. Licenses issued without a driver's test.
It is an ongoing WDRB investigation, and tonight we hear from a whistleblower who says coworkers used her login to pull off this scheme.
The employees were being paid underneath the table.
They say sometimes.
I immediately let my supervisor know about it.
Truth hurts. Did you ever think that this would cost you your job?
No.
And for Melissa Mormon,
I was angry for a long time.
this is one of those.
It hurts me that I'm talking about this and I actually like where I was working at.
Times.
I came into the office that day, my computer was shut down, I was told to go to the front door. Detectives came in, they interviewed me, that was it.
Mormon says she was fired 3 months after she sent this letter to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, blowing the whistle that workers at the NIA Center licensing branch were selling driver's licenses under the table to people who never took the driver's test.
Undocumented workers.
How did it work? What was going on?
The undocumented workers would come into the office in groups. They would provide them either permits or driver's license illegally. So they were bypassed without even taking the test.
How much?
$200 a person.
Up to 5 times a day, she says. Was this an everyday thing?
Almost, yes.
I first reported on the driver's license fraud investigation in April after getting my hands on one of the state's revocation letters. We learned the transportation cabinet sent more than 1,500 of them in 5 months, telling drivers their license was issued in error and must be returned or they could be criminally charged. At the time, state officials confirmed at least 2 terminations, and ongoing state and federal investigations focused on the NIA Center in West Louisville and the E-Town license branch. But they denied all of our records requests, withholding 2,300 documents on the fraud. Mormon's story fills in the blanks.
I found out it may have been going on for a couple of years before it was found out.
We're told it wasn't as simple as people getting state-issued driver's license or permits without taking a test. She says 2 of her colleagues at the NIA Center approached her with a business venture, asking if she wanted to get in on the scheme.
I was asked to bring certain customers in, and they are brought in to me without signing in. And you would scan their documents as usual.
Documents made to look legitimate, like birth certificates and social security cards, according to the letter she wrote to the state. But a key to pulling off this scheme was making sure the required Homeland Security screening was never run.
I start getting these emails saying, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this?
And that's where it unraveled. She says those workers were using her login, a password she says her bosses made her share, as all workers at the driver's license branch did not have their own. Mormon was training to be a supervisor.
I'm not even at my desk because I'm doing various duties, or I'm not there for the day. So, things start kind of coming together. I'm like, what's going on?
Was it always undocumented workers?
Yes.
Every time?
Every time.
It does not surprise me.
Adrian Trivedi helps people trying to obtain legal status, an immigration attorney for 14 years.
For those immigrants that don't have a pathway to obtain legal status, having a driver's license could mean the difference between getting home from work safely, to their children, to their wives or husbands, and not for a relatively small price. To be able to have that chance of avoiding deportation, even just for that day, they're willing to take it.
To Mormon, this license scheme exploited people.
I didn't want no parts of it.
Mormon says she wrote this letter with her boss on October 29th, and she spoke to detectives 3 months later. She was fired the same day.
Gut punch, yes. Very hard gut punch.
She was 2 years and 3 months onto the job, but she didn't technically work for the state. Mormon was a contractor for Quantum, a staffing agency that Kentucky hired to help fill positions in driver's license branches when they took licensing away from the county clerks.
Please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Mr. Van Santen, this is Gilbert Corsi from WDRB News. The Michigan-based company did not return our calls or emails. It hung up.
It's shocking. Why would an employer punish and take retribution on an employee that reported this wrongdoing?
Mormon story. Now the heart of a whistleblower lawsuit going after both the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
She should be a hero.
And Quantum Solutions.
There's a failure to supervise these employees. There were obviously no checks and balances.
Kentucky State Police is on it. There are serious concerns, and we'll hold anybody accountable if they violated the law.
That's basically all Governor Andy Beshear would say as we pressed on this case in April. But there was a part of our interview that didn't make our prior report, and it may be important now. Is there an immigration component to this?
Not that I'm aware of.
WDRB is fighting in court for the paper trail to be made public, uncovering who knew what and when. Sometimes the truth does hurt.
I was hurt and depressed.
But Melissa Mormon believes
I really would like to get my job back.
It will set her free. The Transportation Cabinet has a deadline this week to respond in court on why it withheld every single document, 2,300 records from our request. We will keep you updated.
And we need more whistleblowers. We need more people like her to step up and write letters to President Trump and to whoever to get this information out there, that we as Black Americans are also tired of global melanated people utilizing that African American term, double dipping into our identity, keeping their identity and dipping into their own identity, scamming the system for their own advancement over us. We all have to do our part and let it be known that we are sick and tired of being sick and tired of how they've been able to maneuver and manipulate and scam the system, which I intend to do sometime this or next month. I'm going to submit my complaint to Trump and others that I'm going to look into who to make the complaint about. But yeah, I'm going to let it be known that we're tired of being used and abused and kicked to the curb because of that felonious term of African American. And as y'all should know, for those that don't know and not aware, many of the Black Americans that are not immigrants, they're not from Africa, we're not from the Caribbeans, we're not from the islands, we're not from anywhere but America. We only know of America. We do not want to share identities with melanated people that have their own identities to begin with. We don't want them dipping into our identity. That is erasure of us. And that is abusing us, which the Democrats have allowed to have happen on purpose. And this scam needs to be understood, which I believe Trump already knows. He knows Kamala Harris claimed to be African American to get political points and votes when she's not an African so-called American. She has no lineage to America whatsoever. Her father is Jamaican. Her mother is Indian. Where is the American Black at? But she just waltzed in, claimed that term to get political points, just like Barack Obama did. He's not an American Black at all. His father's from Kenya. His mama is white from Kansas. Has nothing to do with our lineage here in America. And all these other people from Africa now are claiming African American. They're going to college, claiming scholarships, claiming to be an African American. Anyone is claiming to be African American. And it's disgusting, it's disturbing, and it's really pissed me off. That's why there's a movement online going on where many of us are denouncing the term of African American. We're refusing to have that attached to us any longer because we see how damaging it has been. And we have decided to create our own identities. There's a movement called Foundational Black American and ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. I like to call myself Indigenous Black American or Indigenous Black or Indigenous American Black, just so that we have a distinction away from immigrants having access to our freaking name. There is nothing prideful about people coming to use and utilize your name. And we can't even have our own name for ourselves, and that has got to stop. The scam of immigrants has got to stop. And so that's what I'm planning on doing. And I hope that other people will get just as upset as I have in witnessing all the disrespect and the abuse of using that term of African American. Now we're hearing that the African Union has decided to capture African American term in their declarations, or claiming reparations, claiming to lead the charge for reparations for so-called African Americans against our will. They're claiming to be the leader of monies that's not even deserving to them. These same people that partook in the slave trade, that got mirrors and alcohol and monies and gold, whatever they got, have decided to turn around and claim that they want to represent the so-called African American, and they just toss that term in their paperwork. Again, not inviting, not acceptance of us. None of us has consented to any of this. And I'm sick and tired of people being able to do that. The African Union needs to be cease and desist away from having access to anything pertaining to us. For the people that believe that they're Pan-Africans and they want to claim their life to be about Africa, they need to sign their name on whatever list that they provide, and they need to consent to that. The vast majority of us, millions of us, do not care to deal with the African Union. As I have described before, and I have discussed in my previous channel before this one, the African Union disclosed that Dr. Ericana Quihombre Qual, if I'm pronouncing it right, was fired as the permanent ambassador back in 2019 for doing fraudulent stuff while she was the ambassador. How I know is that they submitted a letter to the to the State Department of Washington, D.C. with that information provided about what she was doing behind the scenes, unbeknownst to the African Union. And now you have the African Union devising this plan to try to take away from our conversation of reparations on our own in America. And they decided to take over the conversation and just throw in African American term like that means all of us are just now bound to them. Ain't nobody signed up for that. I don't want nobody claiming me that I'm not claiming. Therefore, Trump needs to know that this is going on, and he needs to cease and desist the African Union, that so-called Chapter 6 region, claiming a jurisdiction for the African American, again, unbeknownst to us and not with our consent. The nerve of these people. This is why a lot of us have delineated. We don't want nothing to do with Africans like that. There are individuals that are okay, that you may meet, but as a whole, we don't want them over anything pertaining to our affairs. And everybody and anybody feels like they can just come in, snap that African American term, slap it on some documents, and that that supposedly is supposed to be justifiable in what they're doing. And that's bullshit. And I hope that others will follow and write to Trump, fax, call, write, complain about what they're calling themselves doing, and others that are not us, pretending to be us, pretending to represent us, again, without our consent. Nobody has invited them to represent us, but they have taken it upon themselves just to claim us. And that's some bullshit. And that has to be exposed. And that's what I intend to do. Let me see what you guys have to say. Where was I? Let me go back up. I appreciate everybody for being here. If you guys have not yet, please subscribe and hit the like button. I don't know if I can get, let me see if I can. You sent me a link. I'm not sure if I can look it up though. My phone, this phone that I'm using right now, it doesn't allow me to get on links for some reason. Hold on, let me see. But anyways, we have to be our own advocates, y'all. We have to let people know that we exist, because what is going on is many people are stepping in the place of our representation, claiming to be us against our will, and that's not cool. I'm sorry I can't get that link. My phone is not allowing me to do it for some strange reason. It won't allow it on this phone. He said, please sign this petition against the African Union. We did not ask for this at all. In addition to signing that, we need to make a letter, individual letters, to Trump, to the Attorney General and others. I don't recommend we submit a letter to the Democrats, because they're not going to do anything. I submitted a complaint back in 2021, and the Democrats didn't say a word. So we can avoid the Democrats and maybe pepper it in with Republicans and Trump and others that may want to hear what we have to say. But we have got to let our voice be heard, because too many immigrants and illegals are moving very slick and sneaky and deceptive. And this is why I don't want nothing to do with Pan-Africanism, because they're fraudsters. They're always got something on the backhand that they're trying to do that's basically trying to take away and steal from us. They want to use our lineage. They want to use our history. They want to use our civil rights talks and our struggles for their advancement over us, under the guise of Pan-African talk. And I've been talking about this deceptive lie of Pan-Africanism, and now we see what is happening today. Umar Johnson, y'all, for those that don't know, has been called out for his lie of that school that he never came out with, and that's been going on for 15 plus years. And now the chickens have come home to roost. They're demanding $40,000, if not more money than that he ain't got. And he lied a month before, claiming that his bank account was frozen. But that wasn't the truth. There ain't no truth in Pan-Africans. All they know how to do is lie. Let me see if I can find his latest lie, and I'm going to end it with him. But these lying Pan-Africans have nothing better else to do but to manipulate us. But every time we turn around, we get a glimmer of hope of truth, because he can't contain this lie anymore. But this is the lie that he told about not knowing about the auction of his school that's been never to be. He claims that he wasn't given a notice But I just want y'all to understand that the gig is up. Anyone with half a brain knows that Pan-Africans are out here lying. And we are not going for the okie doke of Pan-African talk no longer. If you guys are Pan-Africans, prove it. Go to Africa. Get together with the Africans. Do something tangible. Stop interjecting us into your bullshit. Stop trying to claim our participation in Pan-African talk when we are telling y'all we're not Pan-Africans. We don't give a damn about Pan-Africanism because we see it's a tool used to manipulate and to colonize us against our will. And that's not what we're here for. But let's check this out.
Special announcement. FDMG Academy bank accounts are still frozen. Dr. Umar personal bank account is still frozen. Brothers and sisters, we are fighting this war against FDMG and Dr. Umar Ifatunde. We were supposed to get a refund within 4 days of our accounts being shut down. We were supposed to get a refund within 4 days of our accounts being shut down. We still haven't got our refund. We still haven't got our refund. We still haven't got our refund. So, not only are
mind you, he likes to use we. Knows damn well he's only talking about him getting a refund. There ain't no money to be given back to any of the people that supported Umar Johnson. Your money is gone for good, as he likes to say. You're never going to see a dime of it. How does this man get about $2 million and he does not have a dime to show for now? And now he's begging for money.
accounts frozen. Not only are the accounts frozen, make sure y'all hit my Venmo and my PayPal. PayPal.me/Umar the Psychologist. PayPal.me/Umar the Psychologist, or tap my Venmo.
Who is he a psychologist on or over? He has not been a part of a school. He has not helped no boy, no girl, no child, no nothing, including his own. But he still spews the rhetoric of being a psychologist. And we have been so dumb. Well, I have never, because I never believed this man from jump. The first time I heard him speak, I knew he was a liar. I knew he was a bullshitter. And I talked against him as soon as I realized what he was. And people like to just go off of how he looks. He looks like a man with a purpose, but he's not. It's all for show and not for real.
Text me for the links to donate to FDMG. Text me for the links to support Dr. Umar. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. On August the 5th, brothers and sisters, on August the 5th, the city of Wilmington, Delaware.
85% of eligible Mormon Church abuse survivors will miss this deadline. Don't be one of them.
Took out a notice to auction off the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy campus for unpaid vacant property registration fees.
Which he should have known a long time ago that he was not paying this stuff beforehand. He had the money a long time ago, but he'd been spending that money off of traveling and in hotels and speaking here and speaking there and flying over here and all of that. That's where all that money went, to his personal bank account. That's what the Pan-Africans have been doing to Black Americans for far too long. And I'm so glad that he has now been exposed. And I hope moving forward that people will understand why Pan-Africanism is not for Black Americans. Let's go.
I repeat, on August the 5th, the city of Wilmington, Delaware, took out a lien to auction off the campus we bought, the campus we've been working on for 6.5 years. I was not notified of this. We were not notified of this. This past weekend, without an email, this past weekend, without a letter in the mail, this past weekend, without a phone call, the city of Wilmington put a notice on the door handle of both of our schools, informing me that if we don't pay the past due vacant property registration fees and outstanding utilities by the 25th of Black August, they will sell our campus. Brothers and sisters, can I ask you a question? Why were we not notified that they were going to try to sell our campus? Brothers and sisters, why are they trying to sell our campus at the very moment that our accounts are frozen? Brothers and sisters, is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that the city of Wilmington is trying to sell properties that we own and have been working on continuously behind our backs? They were going to sell our schools behind our backs.
And that is just a lie. There is a YouTuber by the name of Basic Black Podcast that contacted somebody to showcase that he was lying. And this says lies, lies, lies. I just received correspondence back from the city of Wilmington, and they provide a detailed outline of its communication or lack thereof in regards to FDMG Academy and the monies that are owed. So this guy is telling you what he did and the response he got back to showcase that Umar Johnson did get notices. He's lying. He's a scammer. There ain't no truth in the guy at all.
Hey, brothers and sisters. Let me just swing this camera around. It is me. It is Reginald Ifatunde Jackson, better known as Reggie with the Basic Black Podcast. Hey, y'all. I'm actually putting out a really quick, totally could be done better video, but I think for the situation, it needs to be put out there now. To everybody who's giving money to Dr. Umar Johnson, I strongly advise you stop. In an effort to try to figure out what the situation is, I reached out to the city of Wilmington, Delaware, and I had correspondence with with Daniel T. Walker, who is one of the managers and deals with communications and whatnot. I received an email back from him about an hour ago. And pardon me if I look away from the screen, so I'm actually looking at a different monitor, but I want to read this to you. Unfortunately, the statements made by Dr. Umar are simply untrue and inaccurate. City of Wilmington has issued numerous communications concerning the two properties, and the communication from the property owner has been infrequent and scarce. Our goal is to simply ensure the properties come into compliance with existing regulations. This is true of our approach to every property in Wilmington and ensures our buildings are safe and constructed adequately. We have a process to follow. The motion notice he received is another step that we will process. We invite Dr. Umar, along with every property owner, to communicate with our offices and determine the appropriate next steps of any property that enters in this phase of enforcement. Even this week, our office has contacted Dr. Umar, and I want to scroll down a little bit. Y'all got to forgive me. I got to get some. The office has contacted Dr. Umar this week and has, inviting him once again. So he's lying to you. Inviting him once again to comply with our regulations and speak with our delinquent accounts team and Department of License and Inspections to determine the path forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prince of Pan-Africanism is a liar. The Prince of Pan-Africanism is a liar. The Prince of Pan-Africanism is a liar and a grifter. And if you are giving money to Dr. Umar, he is unfortunately another one of these paper doctors who are out here grifting. I've reported about this numerous times, and you normally don't get the press and pub that it deserves, but as a service, I'm gonna ask everybody who's listening to the Basic Black podcast, and who's listening on this Instagram video, and who's listening on this YouTube video, who's listening regardless of where the platform states, follow, like, and subscribe. I mean, I'm joking with the headscarf and
again. Trump, well, excuse me, Umar. Umar is full of BS. He knows damn well that those people let him know a long time ago that his buildings that he got were in trouble with taxes and everything else that he didn't pay for in advance. But he was, I believe on drugs or something, and just let it go to the wayside and not dealt with it because he ran out of money. Because he's been spending that money that y'all have been donating to the man. He really feels entitled and obligated to our money. And until we just shut him down for good, it's going to continue, and others like him are going to come out of the woodworks in hopes to get more of our money towards scams and promises of lies. But again, we need to do our part and let it be known how we feel, why we feel that our community is being held hostage by Pan-Africans, by lying immigrants, or scamming immigrants, by even our own who are out here committing crimes, even teenagers and whatnot. We have a lot of cleaning up to do. And I hope that we will follow the lead of President Trump, because in actuality, we really do not have real leadership in our community any longer. As any black man that has represented us in the right way, they don't really exist anymore. So we, as a collective of people, should do our part to pull together our letters and faxes and calls to scream to the mountains about what we do not like about what we're seeing. And we should let it be known to Trump, first and foremost, to stop these Pan-African liars from doing what they're attempting to do. And that's going to be what I'm going to address moving forward. So again, for those that have been trying to know where I've been, I can't find my password to my other channel. So for now, I will be using this channel. I won't be on here on a regular like I used to be. I feel like I have said enough. I feel like I've expressed a lot, and now I need to take it off a line. I need to start writing letters and making calls and emailing and stuff of that nature. I feel like others should also want to do what I'm doing. And I feel that it's time for us to get off of YouTube, off of Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and all these other talking platforms, and do other stuff to let our voices be known, instead of allowing others to come in our place and hijack our narrative against our will. The African Union is trying to do it. Liars such as Umar Johnson is trying to do it. Again, scamming immigrants have been doing it. Scamming immigrants that use African American term, and all these others that have been utilizing it to advance their own agenda over us, has to be the talk that I do off of line. I've done it online for years. People thought I was crazy. Now we're seeing everything come out. I was, what do you call it? Prophetic. I've seen a lot of this stuff by discernment, and now everything is coming out. So I hope that others will join in the festivities of letting your voice be known. Again, that 2000 Kentucky driver license fraud that was discovered, it was a whistleblower that was a Black American. Let it be known, if she didn't do that, they still be doing what they've been doing. You got to have whistleblowers that are willing to put their name and their skin in the game. We got to put it out there, y'all, because other people are doing it in place of us. And this is why we are playing catch up now. And that's where I see things are going right now. But for now, I am in agreement with Trump. Again, what he's decided to do to rid crime out of our community, I can't say no to that. Just like I can't say no to the deportations and all the scamming immigrants that are being called out. Trump is resetting everything. And I'm not surprised that now he's coming for the Black community. I'm just glad that it's happening now and not too late. So I hope that others will get the gist of what I've said. I know that a lot of people like to look at Trump as being racist and all that other type of stuff until devastating things happen to your family, and then you talk differently. So it is what it is. All right, y'all, I'm going to go now. I really appreciate y'all being here. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. You said Trump is not coming for us. He's actually helping. He's coming for the criminals, Pinky. He's not coming for the non-criminals. He's not coming for the people that are doing right by society, their family, and everything else. He's only coming for the people that have been led astray, who have lost their way, and who are acting out. And they're not controllable. So he needs to come in and get rid of those types of elements of our community so that we can breathe again. That's basically what it comes to. And yes, delineation is a must. Delineation was the best thing that we have fell upon. And I feel like it's bringing our strength back. It's bringing our voice back. It's bringing our focus back. Because when we were all confused on who we were, people were able to pimp us and manipulate us and trick us. Now that we have delineated and decided and declared our own identity, people can't just come in and say anything anymore. They got to watch what they say around us now. And that's what it needs to be like moving forward. So yes, delineation is a must. Thank you, Pinky. Thank you, y'all granddaddy nurse and everybody that's in the clouds listening. Thank y'all for coming through, and I might come back next Sunday. Next Sunday, I think on Sundays I'm gonna try to make it more the time I go live. So for y'all to know in advance. Thank y'all, and please hit the like button and have a blessed Sunday. Bless up.